And give a little time for people to get here. Hi, let the ads finish. I'll just ramble. I didn't think of anything funny before the stream or anything clever to open with, so we'll just let the silence hang in the air. The sound of silence. You guys ever heard of that? The most silent room in the world. It'll supposedly make you go crazy if you're in there for too long. I think like the most anybody stayed in there is like just under 40 minutes because it's so quiet in there. You hear your own blood moving. Isn't that weird? I'd never thought about that till I heard of the room because, when we hear silence, it's like, oh, it's so silent in here. But we're still hearing stuff constantly. That's the kind of shit that I think about when I'm not talking to you guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. I am Monkey. This is Monkey in the Morning. Jack has the link. Hopefully he's able to make it. But if not, we're going to still do a show because that's what we do. And I haven't done one in a few days, as you've noticed. I don't have a good excuse. I did hurt myself yesterday a little bit, not enough to put off a show, really. Well, my back was kind of sore. Mostly I've been trying to rest my voice by streaming way too long with Satsu. Oh, I don't make good decisions, you guys. I do not make good decisions. We're going to talk about some damn wieners tonight. But before that, we got even more to say. So I wanted to talk about real issues tonight. There's some really major issues going on in the world, and we'll probably get to those a little bit. We're actually going to start with a couple of those. What's up, Jack? How you doing, my friend?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I was just telling the folks that we have dumbasses to watch, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The important stuff is boring, and that's why I'm going to be spending the majority of my time making fun of retards. I just want to let you know what to expect. I would never lie to you. I don't want to lie to them. You know what I mean?
I understand. I'd be sad if we didn't make fun of dumb people.
And we're definitely going to do that. We do have the debate coming up this week. I've been asked about it. For the record, I'm going to do it the same way I normally have done it, or the way we've done it the last several times. It's on CNN, so there's no fucking way I'm touching it live.
No, they already warned everybody too.
Did they? I'm shocked they gave them a warning this time, because usually they just fuck you over and be like, what we did.
Yeah. Well, they enjoy that bit, so.
Yeah, the first time I was ever taken off this platform was because of CNN. That's a real thing. They took me down live during a debate. And I still maintain with something like a debate, I get it. It's their brand and everything. But that should be public domain. We're talking about the presidential debates. I'm not talking about, two randos decide, like when Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders had their debate.
Yeah.
That's fine. They're not running against each other. We're talking about the debate for the presidency of the United States. That should be, frankly, it should be on every channel anyway.
Yeah, you would think so, but for some reason they think they can own it and force you to bend the knee. But, what we do is obviously fair use, but that's not going to stop them from trying to destroy you for pointing out that their moderators have both called Trump Hitlerian.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we will watch it live on tape. We will be reacting live. I can't speak for you, Jack. If you want to watch it, that's cool. But I'm not going to watch it until we react to it.
No, it's more fun that way.
Yeah, that way you get our live reaction. We can pause whenever we want to without, having to pause a live stream of theirs. But that's Thursday night, so there's that to look forward to. What did Viva do to piss you off aside from living his life? Oh, just hang on. If you can't hang out, because it's going to be a little while before I talk about them. They're my last planned segment. It is the longest planned segment, but let's just say Barnes and Viva jumped back into the Crowder thing to discuss the drug test, Jack.
Of course they did.
Did you see it?
Nope, I've been offline. I was sleeping most of the day. I was out really late last night and then got like an hour of sleep and had to go take care of my mom till like 10 p.m. So I fell asleep at her house for like 6 hours.
The stream is from it's either yesterday or the day before, and Fugi sent it to me, and I started watching the part where they talk about it, and I had to stop. I'm like, nope, this has got to be done live. because I want my honest reaction live.
Oh.
What I did hear is some of the stupidest shit I've heard in my life. And most of it comes from Barnes, of course, because the guy's a fucking retard. Anyway, before we get to that, let's talk about some good news, Jack. Kind of. It's not great news. It's decent news. Julian Assange has cut a deal with our government, and he's not going to be going back to jail.
Oh.
Which he never should have been charged with anything in the first place.
No, it was all stupid bullshit. But at least this ends that saga.
Yes. Julian Assange has entered a plea deal for his alleged role. He has to plead guilty to one count of conspiring to obtain and disclose information related to national defense in a federal court in Saipan in the Northern Marianas Islands, U.S. territory this week. The guilty plea must be approved by a judge. Assange is going to spend, what is it, 67 months, 61 months 62 months. But it's all going to be time served for the time that he's been in prisons around the world.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that it still has to be approved by a judge. I realize that's how these things happen. But it shouldn't have happened in the first place. They should have just dropped the charges. If you're going to go this way, why not just drop the charges?
I think they pressure this way. They can still say they got away and it's face saving, and they didn't want Trump to be able to pardon him.
And that's part of the problem I have with this too, is you have the Biden administration who could have done this. Look, I do have a problem with Trump for not just going, no, pardon him.
Yeah.
Because that should have been done. And I am kind of shocked that Brandon did it, because his boss is the one that kicked all this stupid shit off in the first place. But Assange shouldn't have had to go through all of this. It's clearly established U.S. law. It just embarrassed the administration. And instead of going, it's just like anytime somebody leaks to reporters, they're like, he must have been in on it, with no proof of that.
Yeah.
You can't, a reporter can receive and transmit classified stuff if they had nothing to do with the person obtaining the classified stuff. So, like, let's say you work for Lockheed Martin. I don't know if those are even still a thing. And in your role, you come across some really damning shit, and you're like, I'm going to give this to a reporter. And the reporter prints it. The reporter can't get in trouble because they didn't tell you to do it. Now, if they knew you worked at Lockheed Martin, they're like, I think something might be bad. Will you look into that for me? Then that would be the crime.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they're accusing him of. And it's nonsense. It's fucking nonsense. But at least it's over, and I don't have to worry about Julian Assange being murdered by our government in prison.
Oh, they still might do it.
Oh, yeah, just not in prison, though.
Yeah, they'll do it out in the open. They can blame other people.
Yeah, there'll be a gas leak in his house.
No, he'll have a slip and fall accident. Thank you, Evolve Potato. In some Australian news, the incoming Governor General, basically a glorified rubber stamper, is going to get a 43% pay rise from just under 500 grand to just over 700 grand. All while they're taxing the people with solar panels for the power they produce for free.
Oh my God, that shit is so funny. Did you see that story?
No, I heard something about it, and it sounded completely fucking nuts.
Yeah, so they actually have an excess of power now because they've had so many people put solar panels on their homes.
Yeah.
And so during peak times of the day, they're going to be charging people tax for the return energy that they put back into the system.
That's fucking stupid. They encourage people to get the solar panels, and they bitch about this.
The government pushed them to get these solar panels.
Yeah.
On the notion that you can save money and even sell some of the excess energy back. And now, like, by the way, we're going to charge you for that.
We're going to punish you for doing what we told you to do.
It's insane, man.
Well, that's government for you.
Eagle, I am not kidding. They are really doing this down in Australia.
I don't know what's going on in Australia, but you guys have some crazy people running your government.
I forget who sent me that article, but I read it and I just sat here laughing. I know it's not something to laugh about because I feel bad for the people who are getting screwed by it, but
Yeah, but on the other hand, we don't live there, so
what'd you expect? People, I just want to remind you, the government, they're not your friends and they don't give an ass fuck about the environment. Environmentalism has always been about communism. It just is. That's where it comes from. That's where they're trying to lead it to. Stop falling for this stupid shit. Anyway, oh, I don't know how much I want to talk about this story. I want to put this video up on the screen. I don't know if you saw this, Jack. We're not going to watch it because we are on YouTube and a man gets killed, even though they blur it out when it happens.
oh yeah.
All right, so we're gonna jump ahead a little bit, maybe right there. There we go. So this gentleman right here on the right, I forget his name. I don't really care. He's a criminal piece of dead shit.
Deader Dederson?
What is it?
Deader Dederson?
Yes, it's Deader Dederson. He is wandering around the neighborhood flashing a gun, reportedly pointed it at a woman, and that's why the police show up. Where he's found sitting on a neighbor's porch where he's not supposed to be. This is not his porch, besides what some people say, like, no, that's his porch. No, it wasn't. He wasn't at home. So in his hand right there, it's kind of blurry, so I don't know how well you guys can see it on the screen. He's holding a pistol. The pistol that he was supposedly flashing at everybody as he walked around the neighborhood.
What?
So this cop comes up here and tells him to put down the fucking gun. Put it down. And instead of putting it down, he raises it and points it at the cop.
The cop who's already pointing his gun at the guy.
Yeah. You can't really see it, but the cop already has his gun out right here. This is a very blurry picture. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. The cop was like the most casual dude on the planet, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that dude's either got balls of steel or he's a psychopath. I don't know which.
And that was a lot of people's comment, is how calm he looked. And I really don't care how calm he looked. This was a clean shoot.
Oh, it was a clean shoot. That cop just scares me. I wouldn't want to go up against that dude.
Yeah, you see right here, you can see the gun in the cop's hand. As we get, the cop is now pointing it directly at this guy. Go forward just a little bit more. It's right after this. See, this cop already has his gun drawn on him.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker raises his right arm with the gun in his hand, pointing it towards the cop, and he got killed. And people are like, I can't believe. The way I saw this, Jack, is a comment from a woman who's like, I'm going to need more context to see like what happened beforehand. But it does look like murder.
No, it's clearly him pointing a gun. The fact that he had the gun was dangerous enough because he's got it in his hand. So
Yeah.
he easily could raise it and blow someone away. But he's on some random person's porch, too. That's kind of weird. Also, clean your porch off. That place is fucking messy.
I saw some people try to make this a Second Amendment issue.
It's not a Second Amendment.
It's not at all. It's not. As soon as he raised that gun at the cop, it was no longer a Second Amendment issue. As soon as he was on a neighbor's porch where he was not invited and not supposed to be with that gun, it's not a Second Amendment issue. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that one up because we talk about these. Look, when we see a bad shoot, we say we think it's a bad shoot. That one's not.
There's plenty of times we've criticized police officers. Unfortunately, this guy did this to himself. This might have been a suicide by cop or a mental health crisis, but this was not a bad shoot. They told him to put the gun down. He didn't.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and I agree with you. This cop, there might be something mentally wrong with him. He probably should get some kind of therapy.
Yeah, he's way too calm, dude.
Way too cool.
Way unhealthy level of calm.
Yeah.
But I get, look, he's probably been in this situation several times anyway, but dude was cool as a cucumber. Mm-hmm. He's got balls of steel from like serving in Iraq or something. I don't know. I don't really care. The shoot is a clean shoot. The guy raised his gun. And you don't want to do that when a cop is pointing his gun at you because then he can shoot you.
Next up on things we're again, Jack, I'm just going to do some quick news and then we're going to get into the more drama, fun stuff for me.
Oh yeah,
Although it's mostly ridiculous. Anyway,
it always is, isn't it? You love that kind of drama.
I do. I really do. Because you know what? Just to get ahead of myself a little bit, I was thinking about this today as I was contemplating what stories I wanted to talk about. And I realized that streaming is not much different than Hollywood. A lot of these assholes who you see, they end up with some kind of nasty dirt on them.
Oh yeah,
And it's getting bad. And I'm not going to be one of those people. As much as I, enjoy the drama part, there's a serious part to it too. If we don't help keep the community clean, it will just turn into Hollywood. In
yep.
many aspects, it already is.
Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as um I got nothing, man. I just like mocking dumb people. So, does that make us a tabloid?
It does not. Gordon says, so it's illegal to hold a gun on your own porch. No, it's not illegal to hold a gun on your own porch. And the cop did know it wasn't his house.
Yeah, it wasn't that guy's house, so it wasn't his porch. And don't point guns at cops because that's how you get shot. Because pointing guns at people is illegal.
And no, he wasn't just holding it. He pointed it at the police officer. It's not until he raises his arm at the cop that he gets shot.
Yep.
You can watch the video yourself. I didn't throw the link in the chat, but I'll throw it in the chat so you guys can watch it yourself. And like I said, they do blur it out so you don't have to worry about actually seeing him get blown away, but you can watch the whole time.
Yeah, there's unredacted copies floating around if you really want to watch that dude die.
Don't know why anybody would want to watch somebody die, but yeah, you're right.
Hey, you all do you, weirdos.
I'm not a fan of seeing people actually die.
I don't typically seek it out. I made the mistake of watching a beheading video a while back, and I was like, oh, that'll teach me.
Yes. Dark Resurrect, thank you so much. The thing that blows my mind is when people watch body cams of shootings and say the cops were overly aggressive. On said cam video, the guy's actively trying to ram the cops, stab them, beat them, shoot them. Like, the fuck? I know, dude. I know.
Yeah, there's been a couple of videos like where the cop tased the dude in the balls. Where I'm like, yeah, you would have been overboard there, Chief. The time the cop tasered chick 14 times, pointing a gun at a 6-year-old, shit like that. Yeah, that's overly aggressive. This was not that. Just because you don't like the cops doesn't mean they're always in the wrong.
Yeah. There was one the other day that I saw of a cop who shoots a guy with a knife. The guy's walking away from him when the cop shoots him, and I like, yeah, that's a bad shoot. I get it. I know the whole knife thing of closing distance, but the guy he was actively going away from him.
Yeah, unless there was somebody the guy was walking toward, that's not so cool.
Yeah, and again, I don't know the whole situation, but just based on that little clip, no, it wasn't okay. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Hi, Monkey and Jack. And no, I was not involved with dyeing Birmingham's fountain water red. Well, good for you.
Hey, sorry. Chicago, how's it go, man?
Buckingham, not Birmingham. Did you see the story about the horse over there in England, one of the Queen's Royal Guard, who was luring in pigeons and killing them?
That's fucked up.
He would dribble a little bit of oats out of his mouth, and then when the pigeons came in, he'd stomp on them. I have a lot of respect for that horse.
That's an evil horse, man.
I know, right?
Demon possession shit right there.
Oh yeah. Dark Resurrect. Yeah, there may be ways that shoot of the guy with the knife was legit. I'm just going based on that one little thing. Psycho horse. Yeah, apparently the horse is going back for training.
What, they're going to train him to do it better so he doesn't get caught?
He can get some sensitivity training on not murdering birds in the street.
What? Is there going to be a protest and a riot? All pigeon lives matter? Like, they're going to threaten to turn him into glue if he doesn't comply? Like, I have a lot of questions.
It's one of my favorite.
Start with an exorcist.
It's one of my favorite stories I've read this week. I don't care about that one. Oh, the one that I was going to bring up is the thing from Germany. I'm sure you saw it. This is a horrible case. A 14-year-old girl is out with her friends in a park drinking, and she gets separated from her friends, and she gets gang raped twice, and then raped a third time by a single individual.
Jesus.
Yeah, she had a bad night.
I'll say.
Um, 9 people were identified and brought in on charges, and only one of them got any kind of sentence. They were sentenced to like a weekend or something like that.
What?
Yeah, like no sentence at all for him.
What the fuck, man? How much of this shit do we have to
Oh,
put up
wait,
with
no.
before people
Don't get
push
mad
back?
yet. Don't get
I'm
mad
already
yet.
mad. Nope, too
Nope,
late.
nope.
I'm gonna get madder. I can tell already.
So one of the names of one of the guys who got away with this shit was leaked. And a lady sent him some messages telling him that she thought he was a degenerate scumfuck.
Oh, I know this story. Yeah.
I was just meaner than she was. I really, seriously, calling him a
Yeah.
degenerate scumfuck is worse than what she said to him. And she ended up with 2 weeks in jail for being mean to him.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit. There should be riots in that town.
Yeah.
I wonder how connected those guys were. Like, who did they know that they got such light sentences?
They didn't have to know anybody, Jack. They're migrants.
Oh, they're the sainted elites. Oh my
Yes.
god. Oh, we must love on them, and they're just doing what their culture says. No,
Yep.
this is why this bullshit has to stop. How many of your wives, daughters, sisters, cousins, whatever, have to be suffering at the hands of these pieces of shit before you stand up and do something about it? I'm hypothetically. I mean, like a letter writing campaign. I'm not advocating vigilante violence yet.
No, I'm with you. I understand. How about just removing all of your active politicians legally through voting that have allowed this to happen?
Yeah, seriously, this shit is getting more and more dangerous, and they are being coddled and told it's okay. Did you see somebody was getting some migrant was getting arrested, and a bunch of other migrants started attacking the cops?
I
I
didn't.
retweeted the video earlier.
Did
But
you see? Did you see the video of the one? I think he's a Hispanic man who was showing up to one of those stings where he thought he was meeting an underage girl,
no,
and the little white girl butts in to make sure that they're not being mistreated.
oh, of course, because why would we want to mistreat kid diddlers?
Little Karen doesn't know what the fuck is going on, but she strolls up and asks the potential kitty diddler, "Are you okay?" And the guy who's filming is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she's like, "I just wanted to make sure that a person of color was not being mistreated over here."
See, that's the mindset that will allow us to be conquered by these
Yep.
fucking invaders. You're capitulating your own culture to theirs. It's a type of Stockholm syndrome that we've indoctrinated young people with, and it's disgusting. And this shit needs to stop. They are plundering us, and the reason they think they can get away with these rapes is they know they can. They know there's no consequence. Look at the girl that got shot by an illegal, and how many people rallied around him. I forget her name off the top of my head because I'm angry and tired.
Lake and Riley.
Yes, Lake and Riley. How many? And there was that one in San Francisco that had basically the same thing. How many times do you have to see this? Because they hide it on the mainstream, they don't really cover this. But how many times do you have to hear about this from people like us who are just reporting on the news before you get sick of it?
Let me bring back up that story we read about Assange. Oh, they switched the stories I was looking at.
Of course they did.
Anyway, it was from Fox News, and over in the corner of it, there was a story about how the AP right now is under fire because a young girl was murdered, and there were 2 suspects caught, and they didn't bother mentioning that they're both illegals.
Of course not. They're like Indiana men or men from Northampton. They're not illegal criminal who broke into our country to rape, murder, and plunder. No, it's always the softball shit.
Yep.
The media is complicit in this, mostly because I think the majority of the media is not only communist, but they hate America and everything it stands for, even their own rights to be douchebags. And I'm sick of this shit. I'm surprised people aren't angrier about this.
I
Because
need
at
to
what
correct
point
something.
do you say enough is enough? Does it
You
have
need
to affect you personally?
You need to check your Streamlabs in while you are. I do
No.
want to correct you because you said that they're complicit, and I'm starting to beat this drum. The media is not complicit. The media is the problem. The media drives everything. They drive what our politicians talk about. They drive what social media talks about. They drive everything. They are the bad guys. Everything runs downhill from them. When they cover, and I'm using air quotes, you guys can't see that because I'm not on camera. When they cover for somebody, they're not covering for somebody. They're protecting their pawns. They're protecting their pawn when they refuse to tell you who Joe Biden really is. So I agree with what you said. It's just, this is something I've decided I'm going to keep beating that until people understand it. The press is the problem.
I think they're the mouthpiece for the real problem of communist mentality.
Communism is the root of the evil, but they're the ones who've been driving it in our country for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, you had a Streamlabs.
Yes. Thank you, Dark Resurrect, for that feminist donation. Remember, in Germany, an anti-immigrant protester was attacked by a Muslim with a knife. Then the guy getting attacked was then tossed to the ground and arrested. Then the cop got stabbed.
Yeah, the
because
cop got stabbed.
They're trained to automatically assume that the brown person is the victim.
Mm-hmm. Save yourself. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate it, my friend. All right. Something a little more upbeat. Not a lot more upbeat, but a little more upbeat. We talked the other day about the new poll that came out that shows that there were actually a handful of polls that came out to tell us Joe Biden is pulled ahead of Donald Trump. And I saw this clip from Bill Maher, and I'm like, oh, I have to play that on the show. I'm glad I'm not the only one who can see through the bullshit. And it is funny to me that it's Bill Maher that did this, and this wasn't from Fox News, who ran one of those polls. But here we go.
45% of Hispanic voters prefer Biden compared to 39% for Trump. Last time he won, 59%. That was 2020. So he's lost 14 points there. He went to Morehouse. He said, what is democracy if you have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot? That seemed like pandering to me. Black voters under 50. He led by 80 points in 2020, now by 37, still a lot, but he's lost 43 points off the key constituency. Student loans. He's forgiven $144 billion in student loans. Only 36% of student debt holders like it. I mean, if you can't win the people you're pandering to, I mean, I get it. Politics is somewhat about pandering. That's not even an insult. You're supposed to do what people want to a certain degree, also be a leader. But if you're not winning these groups, and he's lost 8% off women since 2020, and yet I read in the polls, he pulled ahead this week. Explain that to me.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what I'm talking about with the media being the ones who are actually driving everything. There is no fucking way you can look at everything Bill just said. He's lost so much. What the lowest one we saw there was 8% that he lost. The people that he's trying to buy off with the college or debt forgiveness, 36% like it. The rest of them are like, nah, this is kind of fucked up. And you're trying to convince me that this man is pulled ahead of Trump? I was born at night, not last night. I love that I get to use that, and it's true. I don't understand how we're expected to believe this, and yet, people do.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they're taught to believe whatever they hear, not to actually think.
Maybe it has something to do with repetition. Maybe it's when those polls came out, literally every news station in the world came and went, Biden pulled ahead. So nobody will even stop and think. And just to give a great example of this, this is Ashley St. Clair retweeted this the other day. It's gone around a few times. Jack, do you remember what the fuck was the name of that?
Then no.
Yeah, I will see it in a second. The
Threads.
Thank you, Threads. Oh, it's right there on the screen. I wasn't reading the screen that I was moving. Do you remember when Threads came out? This is how the news presents it. That's the New York Times, Forbes, CBS, Wired, Business Insider, USA Today. These are major publications, and every single fucking one of them, the Twitter killer. Every one of them. And why? Because they didn't like that Elon Musk had bought X. I'm still calling it Twitter. X is so stupid, Elon. Please change it back. But every one of them, every fucking one of these guys, has anybody in the chat used Threads once? One time? I logged into Facebook on my phone one time and they tried putting Threads in there. I'm like, no.
Nice try, suckers.
It's not even used, but it was the killer. It's gonna take over. This is look at Twitter killer. It's over and over and over there.
We got him now. We got Elon now, guys. Totally got him.
I forgot Threads was a thing until this moment. Exactly. But at the time, it was everywhere. Every fucking news stations were writing about, news organizations, I shouldn't just say stations, were writing about this Twitter killer. A news organization shouldn't be writing about a Twitter killer unless it's like, some dude was killing people on Twitter.
Well, I mean, that's probably going to happen at some point.
It probably already has, and they just haven't figured it out.
Yeah, that one
For being
surprised
honest. Me. All right, now it's time to get into the more salacious parts of the night.
Monkey loves drama. It's drama time, guys. Drama.
It is the drama part of the night, and it's not really drama. I mean, there's some serious things here. The first one, especially because this is just breaking today, and I was busy, so I didn't get to see it until right before the show. Do you know who Dr. Disrespect is?
I know the name.
Okay, so I don't remember if I talked about this on stream because I've talked about it out loud with several people, but I don't remember if I did it on stream. So here's the gist of the story. 4 years ago, 6 months after he signs a major exclusive contract with Twitch, out of the blue, Twitch banned him. They gave
signed a contract with them?
They gave him a multi-million-dollar contract. He ends up suing them and they settle. And according to him, he got paid by him. He was suing for breach of contract, not for the rest of what we're going to talk about, despite what you'll hear. But he sued them and they reportedly agreed to just pay out his contract, which was reportedly $7 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
This sounds like there's a lot more something going on there.
Yeah, well, the other day, without actually putting a name on the tweet, everybody just figured out who they were talking about. An ex-mod at Twitch came out and said he was banned for sexting a minor.
Oh, wow. Is that true? Do they have any evidence? Because that's massive slander or liable, depending.
Well, no, there's no evidence. Dr. Disrespect has made 2 comments about this publicly. And in neither one of them has he said, I haven't sexted a minor.
Oh.
What he has said is, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything illegal.
That's not a denial, dude.
Lots of people saw it as a denial, and here's why it's not a denial, guys. It is entirely possible to legally sext a minor in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, he might not have known she was a minor at the time also, but...
Oh, yeah, from the sounds of it, no, he knew.
Oh, dude.
Again, this is all alleged. Nobody's answered. He's certainly not talking, but...
probably on the advice of counsel.
If somebody is... Well, no, because he might not have done anything illegal. If somebody is 16 in a state where the age of consent is 16, and you sext them, technically you are sexting a minor, but it's not illegal. It should be, but it's not.
Yeah, that's just some legal loophole there.
That's why I thought him saying I did nothing illegal was such a telling statement.
Yeah, that's a bad look, dude.
Also depends on how the NDA was drafted for the settlement. Okay, he just can't talk about it. I cannot imagine an NDA that would be drafted where he can talk about it at all, even to say I did nothing illegal, and couldn't say I've never sexted a minor.
Yeah, that yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question, Jack, because I asked this of somebody else, and they told me they think maybe they know of one, but they couldn't think of it right offhand. Have you ever heard of anyone getting wrongfully banned off of a place? You know, being told this is why you were banned, disagreeing with it, thinking it was wrong, and before any lawsuits are out there where you can't talk about it or anything, didn't come out and say, "Hey, this is the bullshit they said about me, and it's wrong."
I can't think of anyone, but it's possible it's happened.
Everybody I know comes out and goes, "Hey, they said I said this. I didn't fucking do it. Here's the proof."
Yeah. Yeah.
Evidence or shut the fuck up. I don't need evidence. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm telling you what the story is. That is the story, and that is his reaction to it. But it got even worse for him today, Jack, because he has a video game company that he's a part of and helped found called Midnight Society.
Okay.
This is their statement they released earlier tonight.
No.
On Friday evening, we became aware of an allegation against one of our co-founders, Guy Beam, aka Dr. Disrespect. We assumed his innocence, which I believe, being that they're all friends who started this company together.
Yeah.
We assumed his innocence and began speaking with parties involved. In order to maintain our principles and standards as a studio and individuals, we needed to act. For this reason, we are terminating our relationship with Guy Beam immediately.
So who did they talk to? And what did they say?
My guess would be they went and asked him about it. And
well, if he gave statements like he just did a minute ago, then I get it.
They go on to say, while these facts are difficult to hear and even more difficult to accept, it is our duty to act with dignity on behalf of all individuals involved, especially the 55 developers and families we have employed along with our community of players. Again, I'm not saying he did it, but it really doesn't look good.
No, it really looks bad.
And you
I
know
don't
what?
know if he did it, but
maybe he didn't. Maybe it's all a big misunderstanding or something. But if it's me, there is no goddamn NDA that would not stop me from going, I did not sext a minor. Here. I have never sexted a minor.
Yeah, or even like I've never knowingly sexted a minor, or he sexted her, found out her age, and was like, "Oh shit, nope, we're done, walking away from this."
Okay, for the people who are asking who Dr. Disrespect is, he was a major player on Twitch. He's over here on YouTube now. Last I heard, he had like 2.5 million subscribers. I don't know what he actually has right now. Very big name, very big with kids because he acts like a jackass and yells at people and insults them. Kids like that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that mean. It's just what it is. So many of you probably would never see him if it was not for me talking about him right now. If your NDA covers sexting a minor, I have some questions. Yeah, me too. Me
right?
Too. And it's amazing how many people say that. Like, I could just be the NDA. Wow.
Yeah.
You don't see the problem with that?
That doesn't seem like that's a less of a problem. It seems like a different problem.
And again, this is what made me think about it, Jack, because I was actually thinking about this situation, and I happened upon Milo Yiannopoulos. I didn't even realize he was back on Twitter.
Yeah, I happened to see him the other day. I wasn't keenly aware of it, but I did see him making fun of Fuentes the other day.
Well, he put up a post today that showed who was it? Phoenix or River was no, not River Phoenix. Who's the big-headed guy?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, thank you.
Yep.
Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. And some woman said, oh, the 3 most gorgeous men in Hollywood. And Milo responded, the 3 most raped men in Hollywood. I was like, fuck.
Ouch.
He showed them all, when they were young in Hollywood, not today.
Yeah.
And Milo's original comment when he posted the picture was, knowing what I know about Hollywood, this picture just makes me sad.
He's not wrong.
He's not, yeah. Dangerous, thank you. Let's remember people also believe in astrology, tarot, and crystals. By the way, am I the only one who hears we're streaming on X and thinks maybe specify you mean the platform, not the drug? You know what? I have never thought of that, but now I always will.
Don't judge me.
Over on the Streamlabs, I'm waiting for it to load up. Thank you. The next 6 minutes. Ranting Monkey is an absolute gentleman and so much respect. I feel I can't read this out loud. It feels self-serving.
That's why you're going to read it out loud, and we all know it.
No, look, I have my ego, but I, like most people, compliments I'm not really comfortable with.
But modesty you have no issue with, so...
It's 6. Thank you so much. He's a gentleman, so much respect to such an awesome dude. Fist bumps and high fives, man. And for Jack, too, he's a good dude, too. Give Phoebe a head pat for me, Monkey. Y'all have a good week. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you, my friend.
Thanks, 6. It's really nice of you.
I really am. I do much better when you guys are mean to me and I have to brag on myself than if anybody brags on me.
Next 6 minutes is a good dude. If you guys aren't following him, go check him out.
You need to grift more, Monk? I know, I really should. Anyway, so this Dr. Disrespect thing, I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to get an answer. However, Jack, tonight he had a stream, or last night, somewhere around there, where he gets a text message, and this is before it comes out that the company has decided to part ways with him. And he just goes silent. It's really weird. And then in another part of his stream, he goes on this like 6-minute rant about how he's just burned out and he's thinking about just walking away. Can you imagine charges come out about you where supposedly you were sexting a minor and you didn't do it, and your answer is, I'm going to go into hiding? Again, not saying he's doing it, but it doesn't look good. Evidence is evidence. Accusation is accusation. Well, I mean, he could reach out to Twitch and be like, look, guys, I have to address this. Would it be okay if I, told people I wasn't trying to have sexual conversations with a child? And it'd be really dicky, I suppose. Twitch could be dicks about it and go, nah, we're not going to let you say that.
Well, you could have his lawyer look over the NDA contract and figure out if it's okay.
And again, we have seen things where it looks bad and it actually isn't.
Yeah. We've
seen false accusations, but this one isn't a false accusation in the normal sense, because it's not like somebody came out and said he did this. Like I was sexting with him. This is a former Twitch employee who says that the head honchos had it dead to rights. And I'm trying to think of another thing he could have done where, with a $7 million contract on the line, they were like, yeah, fuck it, get rid of him 6 months in. But anyway, yeah, I have no idea. Did I miss the Crowder stuff? No, Sean, we are just getting ready to start.
Oh, Evolve pointed out that the guy who released this information quit working at Twitch a year ago and was sitting on this info.
Well, there's some speculation there. And again, this is just more speculation because we just don't know, that he had his own NDA where he wasn't. And remember, he never names Dr. Disrespect. He just says this.
Oh.
He literally just says he was banned because, and everybody else put it together. So that, yeah, it's weird. But if he had like a year-long NDA kind of thing, those are done. Who knows? Who knows? I guess we're never going to find out unless Twitch finally is like, fuck it, here's all the proof.
I mean, someday maybe. I don't know.
Anyhow, Jack, let's talk about Steven Crowder's cell phone. Jesus Christ.
Can this guy get any fucking dumber? I mean,
Yes, he can. So this is another one where it's my fault for following Pearl. I shouldn't be following Pearl. Every time I read something from this idiot, I end up angered.
there's a lot to be angry about. She's really dumb.
So this time she was once again out there with her. Steven Crowder did nothing wrong. And nobody's she said this, nobody's shown a police report or a guilty verdict for him being abusive. Well, that's because he wasn't charged with it, idiot. It was said out loud because we all saw the fucking video.
Yeah, it's called emotional abuse, which is hard to prove in court.
But jumping down that rabbit hole led me to Jared Monroe, not gay Jared.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Who had a post up today saying the rumors are true. After an unsuccessful first lawsuit, Louder with Crowder has filed a second baseless lawsuit against me. This time for defamation. Read about it below from my attorney. And here's what his attorney posted. Oh God, Crowder, you're such an idiot, dude. After I filed the ULP charges, Louder with Crowder stopped pursuing its breach of contract lawsuit and then withdrew the lawsuit altogether. This is presumably because Louder with Crowder decided that the lawsuit was futile and would result in Louder with Crowder having to pay potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of damages to Jared. Yeah, you don't want to fuck around and get yourself in all this trouble. I get it. You're a litigious motherfucker. You don't believe in lawfare. Lawfare is wrong.
He's the one doing it.
Yeah. So they decided to file a defamation suit. The new defamation suit. Yes, they are filing they filed a defamation suit against Jared. Reportedly, I haven't read the lawsuit myself, but reportedly for these two things. Now, Jack, I want you to listen very carefully and tell me what defamation you hear, okay?
Okay.
These are emails between Jared and Crowder's wife, and reportedly there were other people that were involved. You know, other like-minded people who hate Steven Crowder who are sharing this around. This is the first thing. Go ahead.
This sounds familiar.
This is the first thing that Jared said that is supposedly defamation. I think there's a scenario where several of us would be willing to attest to all of that.
Okay.
Can you name the defaming part there?
Nope.
Okay, number 2. I just don't want him anywhere near those kids. That really, really disturbs me.
Is there more to that, or is
No, that's it. Those are the two things. Sean says, I've been working on a video on this, the complaint, which is actually public. Hey, dude, any chance you would shoot that to me in DMs? My DMs are open over on Twitter. It's just ranting_monkey. I think we follow each other. The complaint, which is actually public, literally blames Jared for publishing defamatory stuff and has a screenshot Louder with Crowder posted. This is why it's a cell phone. None of this that's on the screen right here was made public by anyone other than Crowder.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is shit he posted.
This is stuff that he had Gerald, his number 2 there at Louder with Crowder, the CEO of Louder with Crowder, Jared, go on and make his little video. Remember that video? That's where this first came out. Crowder's the one who published this. And he's like, you defamed me. Now, just I went and read up on defamation today. I'm not a lawyer, you guys. So again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Consult a real lawyer, blah, blah, blah. The first part of defamation is somebody saying something that is provably false. Did you even see an allegation there?
No, it was just, I don't think he should be around those kids. There was no motivating factor there. He didn't call him a pervert or anything.
Frosted, thank you so much. Monkey, you are a great man. Nay, the greatest man on YouTube. Einstein pales in comparison to your brilliance, and Jesus envies your morality. If I ever have a child, I will only resent him for not being you. Wow.
Like,
I appreciate
that's
that,
going
my
to go to
friend.
his head, you guys. Knock it off.
I appreciate that, and it's about time somebody noticed how great I am. Yeah, this is insane. This is absolutely what Frosted just wrote made more sense than what Steven is suing for here.
Yeah, this is just an attempt to bleed Jared dry financially and get him to shut up. Which
This
actually kind of sounds like witness tampering when I think about it. Because if he's thinking of testifying for Hillary and Steven's threatening to sue the guy for defamation,
this
kind of sounds like he's tampering with a witness.
is their divorce finalized? I don't know if it is, and
I don't
if
know.
it's because the lawyer actually, we can read his other statement here. Presumably, the idea behind this new lawsuit is that because it is a common law claim for defamation, it does not run into the same problems that the first lawsuit did, i.e., it is not a lawsuit that seeks illegal objective of enforcing contract clauses that violate the National Labor Relations Act. But this is mistaken. There are three kinds of lawsuits that violate the NLRA: lawsuits that seek an illegal objective, lawsuits that are preempted, and lawsuits that are baseless and retaliatory.
That sounds like baseless and retaliatory as
Right?
well. Yes.
That's what this is. This is retaliation.
Yeah, how
And
dare you try and snuggle up with my wife there and be on her side? You're my bitch. You will do as I command. I'm Steven Crowder.
the lawyer does say this defamation suit is a lawsuit that is baseless and retaliatory. That's what you can't see behind me and Jack's face right there. Sorry, guys.
No, that's absolutely true, I would
Yeah.
argue, but it still sounds like he's trying to threaten him into submission. Like, maybe this
There's
lawsuit will go away if you don't testify for Hillary.
there's no claims made here.
No, none. There's some like illusions, but there's nothing here you can work with for that. That's fucking dumb. Steven's such a diva. Jesus, I wonder how long they've been coddling this baby because he is such a fucking selfish little child.
Sean, thank you so much. He dropped me the actual lawsuit. Oh, it's from Current Revolt.
You're from Current Revolt.
I usually am. Did Crowder defame himself and blame not gay Jared for it? Yes, he absolutely did.
Yeah, well, Crowder's not the smartest. He's not as smart as he thinks he is. And he's not as smart. Well, he's not as smart. He's not as handsome. He's not anything he thinks he is. He is just a petulant little child in a man's body.
According to his lawsuit filed on 5/24/24, Crowder is suing his former staffer seemingly for defamation and extortion and seeking $1 million in damages. For real?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this looks a lot like somebody trying to force somebody to not be with his wife's side. It's absolutely lawfare either way.
They're seeking a request for discovery in the matter. I mean, it's a lawsuit, so yeah. But I also I've noticed that Crowder seems to have this what's the word? A habit of using legal system to get personal information on people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because remember,
that's part of lawfare, you know.
Yeah, the reason he has those messages from Jared is because he had discovery for all of the texts his wife had sent, all of the information or all of the correspondence she had with like 6 different people, and those 2 statements, which by the way aren't defamatory at all, they don't make an accusation of any kind.
No, but he can tangle him up in court for a while with it and try and scare him. Like Cirque said, it's more witness intimidation than tampering, but I would argue it's both because you're trying to cripple him financially as well.
All right. Causes of action.
I don't like him. He's a poopy head.
Wait. Defendant published false and disparaging statements about Louder with Crowder to be published. You published them.
That's a hate fact, sir.
It was a private email exchange.
That they purposely wrote to be released later because they knew Steven would get it in discovery and be angered and release it. It was a clever ruse. That's the
You
ticket.
you were being a dick to your wife and trying to take her to the cleaners and punish her for not walking your fucking dog and daring to think she should be able to use the family car.
How dare she? Doesn't she know?
And you, in order to get back at Jared for just coming out and going, hey, Steven Crowder keeps trying to sue me, you release this information.
No, he released it by accident. He didn't realize he was walking into a clever trap set by his arch nemesis,
Look,
Hillary, who doesn't want to wear gloves while pregnant.
I don't know Hillary, and while I like Jared as much as I can for somebody I don't know and barely read, they don't seem like criminal masterminds to me.
Oh, that's the brilliance of it, Monkey. They're like Professor Moriarty and his toady.
Hey, Sean, are you still in the chat? If you are, do you know about when your video is going to come out on this? Because I like watching his stuff. If you guys don't watch Actual Justice Warrior, please make sure you're following him and check him out. But now I'm really interested. He's one of those people for me, kind of like Willie Mack. I wait for his videos to come out.
Yeah, Willie Mack needs to learn how to use the plural of woman, though.
It's actually grown on me from him. I don't like it when other people do, but the fact that I asked him to do it and he told me no actually endeared it to me.
Yeah, he drives me up a wall.
He's just like,
and woman, you mean women? You mean women? Oh my God.
Jared defamed him by having Gerald make some ridiculous videos with these messages. Just look at the screenshot of it. They're from that thing. Yeah, they're from the episode. He did it. Oh, anyway.
What a fucking retard. Crowder is just becoming more and more of a lolcow. The guy's just an idiot. And I'm glad I never liked the guy because this is just more reason to. The guy's just a prima donna, diva, however you want to say it. He's a spoiled little shit who always gets his way and throws a temper tantrum when he doesn't. And he ends up shooting himself in the foot and he blames everybody else.
Before we ever get to that part, I need to know, what is the false statement in here? I put the things back on.
It's the fact that he doesn't like him.
The first one says, I think there's a scenario where several of us would be willing to attest to all of that. What's false about that? Are you claiming nobody else would? Because that's the only thing that the only claim made there is other people would agree to something.
Oh, no, they would never agree to turn on Steven. They'd be backstabbing bitches, and he'd have to sue them.
That would be the only thing you can say is false there, is if you can prove nobody else would agree to whatever it was that was said that we don't see here. And the second one says, I just don't want him anywhere near the kids. That really, really disturbs me. Are you going to go out there and prove that he wouldn't be disturbed by you being by the kids?
Maybe.
You could argue that this one, because it is vague, and you're like, well, that some people might see that and think child abuse, or maybe he just doesn't like Steven and doesn't want him to turn out like him.
Yeah, maybe he steals the kid's pizza and is like, ha ha ha, the Easter Bunny hates you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's neither one of these statements. There's nothing in here that has anything to do with defaming anyone. It's just not.
Well, but Steven doesn't like it, so it's wrong.
But on the off chance we're willing to say this is defamation, which I'm not. But if I was, Steven, you're the one that put it out.
That doesn't matter. He was duped into it.
100% matters.
No, it doesn't. Steven's fifis will get hurt.
It 5 billion% matters. That's all that matters.
Nope. Don't look at that. Look over there.
Oh.
Pretty bird. There's a pretty bird over there. Look at the pretty bird.
It's just so goddamn dumb. Oh, but that's what Crowder's turned into, man. It's
he's just been exposed for being the piece of shit that he is. And he doesn't like it.
Go through the rest of that lawsuit. I reading something like that, I don't want to do it live without having read it already. He dropped that other lawsuit I called bullshit on, almost as if it was filed to cost people money / have legal docs for his video. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, these are the don't use lawfare. You and I, don't like the whole lawfare thing going on, but we're not suing people.
Yeah, I'm not running around suing former employees for ridiculous dumb shit. That's fucking pathetic. It's just pathetic. It's diva behavior, but on such a childish, like middle school mentality. He said something mean to me, teacher. Ugh.
I don't even think it's diva behavior. It's bully behavior.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, those things aren't that far apart.
It's just bullying. He is trying to punish people who he feels wronged him.
Yeah, we've discussed him several times. I think I've called him many names in the book, and I don't think I'm wrong yet because yeah, he is a bully. He's a diva. He's self-obsessed. I'm pretty sure he's a narcissist, and he treats his wife like shit. So fuck the guy.
He legitimately is suing over an opinion expressed privately. Yes.
Yep.
And here's the thing. He wouldn't even know about it. Nobody would know about it if he hadn't have been such a dick about getting her communication so that he could punish her for not wanting to live with his douche ass, which we cannot stress enough. She didn't file for divorce until after she found out he had a divorce lawyer, which I'm sure he just had, for contract law.
I got one laying around, a divorce lawyer just in case.
That's for you, Pearl. I know you're not listening, but God, just once, Pearl, listen to this. She likes to play that. Yeah, the women do all the divorces. Yes, she's the one that filed, but not until she found out Crowder was gonna divorce her. Let's be honest here.
Because she's a traitor who won't put medicine on the dog's balls or whatever.
Crowder Streisand. Here's the thing, next 6 minutes.
Yes.
I do think that Crowder is devious enough that he did it on purpose, knowing that, hey, I put it out there, now it's public, now it's defamation, which it's not. But I could absolutely see that he wanted it to be made public like that.
Yeah, he's sneaky enough to do that, but not smart enough to realize that it's not defamation.
Well, shit, go watch Actual Justice Warrior's video on the original lawsuit. I mean, the whole thing was just designed to get the attention that he was getting. It was nonsense on its face.
Well, look how much attention he got for secretly recording Jeremy Boring. And he wants to maintain that dopamine hit,
But hey, remember, he never records his friends. He'd only done it like maybe 3 times, maybe.
Yeah. Everybody that dude's ever talked to should be worried that he's recorded their conversations.
The only way your conversation is recorded with me is if we're on stream.
Yeah. What a lot of work, man. Look, you gotta hook up a piece of equipment and fucking record. No, fuck that shit. What a waste of time.
Yeah.
What are the chances your conversation is gonna be interesting? Like that conversation he had with Jeremy Boring, it was obvious setup, but it was still fucking boring.
Very Milo behavior. Yeah. It's what we call gay ops.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
It's pathetic. It's sad, pathetic lolcow behavior.
And
you're just pathetic, Crowder. Just accept it.
Actual Justice Warrior points out Dave Landau said that Crowder records everything.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think he's a little bit paranoid and very self-centered. So those two things would feed into that. Probably some Munchausen in there too.
If you're a bully, a good way to do that is to have dirt on your friends.
Yeah. Well,
that's what Ethan Ralph did. He kept fucking folders about his friends so that if they ever turned on him, he could make it all public and try to destroy them.
It's not true. I got dossiers.
All
you
right.
guys take the pill bottle. I don't have one near handy because we got to keep the Ralph mail away.
So, guys, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for Actual Justice Warriors video on this. I'm anticipating it and can't wait. Yeah, but we got to move on to the main course tonight because I'm about to lose my mind on a couple of lying retards. I'm sorry to call these men retarded because I'm on YouTube, but otherwise I stand by it. We have our Viva Frei, however you say his name. I don't even care. And Robert Barnes in his Sunday best. That just looks like a suit you put on a little kid. I'm just saying. And they're going to talk to us about the hair follicle test. Just a reminder that Nick Rekieta, cops go to his house, with a valid search warrant, find the drugs that they had probable cause to believe were in the house. They take the children because, you got drug addicts with drugs laying all over the house. They do a hair follicle test on all 5 children. The 9-year-old, the second youngest of them, comes up with a reading on her drug test of a regular user of cocaine. That's where we are. We'll get to more of that, accuracy of drug tests and stuff as we go forward with this.
Oh, let me guess before you play it. The 9-year-old is the drug kingpin, and any trace of drugs on everybody else is from the 9-year-old sneaking them drugs to frame them, right?
That might actually make more sense than what we're about to hear. All right, so Barnes is this was actually a stream with a title about how they were going to be looking at Supreme Court cases. It's June. The Supreme Court is handing down all of their things. I don't think we've talked about many of the decisions. A lot of big ones have come out. We talked a bit about the bump stock one. So there, for lawyers, that is a big topic. But 30 minutes in, Barnes starts with this.
And we have Bannon's bail decision and drug testing, which has come up in the news and some other circles. It's fascinating. People who suddenly believe that anything the government tells you is reliable and trustworthy.
All right, I just want to stop there. I don't believe that everything the government tells me or anything the government tells me is honest and trustworthy. Some of it is, okay? Not everything is a lie. Just because a lot of it is lies, a lot of it is half-truths, a lot of it is misdirection, it doesn't mean everything is. And it's absolutely asinine to pretend that way. Don't take off your thinking cap just because somebody said, government said it. Remember, this is the guy who claims they had no probable cause to go looking for those drugs that they found. Anyhow, and look, yes, there are times that there can be a bad warrant where there was an actual probable cause and they found something, and that's pretty easy to spot most of the time. They had 4 witnesses. They're like, hey, y'all need to check this shit out. They had his streams. They had Aaron talking about it. They had plenty of probable fucking cause, and then they found the drugs.
Yeah, 2 mandated reporters.
How dare they? That's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is not what a fucking warrant is about anyway.
No, that's why the word probable would be in there.
But I have particular legal experience in the field of drug testing. I'll explain to you why. There's about a 1 in 5 chance if they tested anybody's kids out there that they're going to find in the hair follicles some positive test for some form of illegal drug.
All right, this is where
enlighten me on that one.
He's not wrong about that. However, the cocaine test is very specific. The cocaine test is more likely to give a false negative than a false positive.
You and your hate facts, monkey.
Yeah. If you're talking about just general stuff in the air, usually marijuana is the one that really blows that statistic to that point. Yes, there's a lot of false marijuana ones with hair follicles. It's why it's not considered a really reliable test for that. You're using urine or blood most of the time for that, maybe even saliva. We'll get more to that in a minute because this dirty lying motherfucker.
What, a lawyer? What?
I know.
Monkey? What are you trying to tell me?
It's because of how that testing really works.
Well, okay, look, you did a bourbon with Barnes on it last week. I did a stream where I just mentioned some people they get tempted by the numbers and the traffic, and that's actually a deterrent for me. I don't want to even feel that there's a part of me that is incentivized to talk about someone's abject misery.
Really, bro? We watched you do it back to back. We made fun of you 2 days in a row over this shit.
Yeah.
But enough people have been out there because these 2 idiots are some of the ones. It seems like they're just grifting off this, and people went, looks like you're grifting off of it. And so he's going to pretend he has some principles here.
Well, of course he is.
I really don't want to talk about this. So why don't you shut up and we won't discuss that at all? No?
They want to get Rekida's pay pigs, dude.
If that's where it stopped, we wouldn't be watching any further.
Well, of course, but that's never where it stops, and you know
I
it.
don't want to be part of that, so I'm going to be part of it.
So I'm gonna qualify this statement, and then you're gonna suck me into the conversation, man.
What'd you do? Get your legal advice from Crowder? Anyway,
Maybe.
And there's no but to that. You had an amazing bourbon with Barnes on this. This is relating to those who don't know. Rekieta, there was an update. Apparently, government came in and took all 5 of his kids and placed them in strangers' possession foster care of the state. They did this because apparently they tested the 9-year-old kid for cocaine.
They did it because they went into the house and found 26 grams of coke.
Yeah, and the kids were stinky and filthy, and one asked to change her clothes because she's been wearing those clothes for days.
And the kids were in the house with it. They kept them because of the drug test. Anyway.
Oh,
I don't.
Hairs.
I know.
I don't even know what. Nobody commentating on it has delved into what that means. Tested. What does that mean?
Everybody has delved into it.
We delved into it. We're nobodies.
Even Uncivil Law, who gave one of the worst takes that we saw about it, even he didn't be like, yeah, I'm not going to delve into. He went through the fucking law about it. Don't know. Kind of tempted by the 9-year-old Kingpin theory.
I got that theory from watching Bugs Bunny cartoons with Finster Baby.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
if a baby could be a criminal mastermind, why not a 9-year-old? And I'm telling you, maybe that 9-year-old is secretly not a child. It might be that movie Megan, where it's a 30-year-old woman pretending to be a child.
Could be. And how you doing, Polly? All right, here we go.
Blood test, a urine test. Are they suggesting that the kid was taking cocaine?
No, not one has delved into this. Was it a blood test? Was it a urine test? Motherfucker, we all put it on the screen where it clearly says a hair follicle test.
Yeah. How did he miss that part? He even said that like a minute ago, didn't he?
I know. Barnes was already talking about it. But he's pretending like nobody else talked about it. So this is why we're having to do it.
This is why we're having this conversation.
I don't want to.
Why do I feel like I'm like talking to a girlfriend that thinks I'm cheating because I went to the grocery store?
There's no but. The thing is, none of these people actually delved into it. We all did, and we're
all dumber than Viva Frei and Barnes because we're all big dummy heads.
Read through the whole goddamn thing. That's why. Hey, Viva. That's why all of us were talking about hair follicles.
Oh, it's weird. That's the connection. What?
We thought it might be a blood test, so we all immediately jumped to hair follicles. Jesus Christ.
I hate these two, man. I used to have some respect for Viva, but I have zero now.
I get it. He's your friend, but it's okay to just stay fucking quiet instead of doing this.
Yeah. They're just damaging their own reputation with everybody except the diehard loyalists for Rekieta.
My theory on these guys is that they're not dumb, but anytime. Okay, for the record, Sean, I have pointed out before that, especially for defense attorneys, you're supposed to poke holes and stuff. And I call them dumb over and over again. I don't think they're actually unintelligent men. I think they're liars, is what I think. And I think they think their audiences are dumb, and I think their audiences, in this case, have proved them right.
Yeah, look, I would hire Barnes as a defense attorney because he will advocate for you. But the guy's a piece of shit, if you ask me. I think they're bad people.
Sean goes on site. Anytime a Rumble guy like them gets in trouble, they will say anything to defend him. Yeah. They did this for Crowder versus Daily Wire. True. And they are also personal friends with Rekieta, which adds to it as well.
Yeah.
So when I call them dumb or liar or dumb or idiots or morons, that's just me insulting them because I enjoy doing it. I actually think they're just fucking dirty lawyers. They're lawyers.
Yeah. Like I said, bad people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
maybe evil. I'm not sure.
Bottom line, the headline, the information that was leaked, confidential information leaked from the court.
Stop again. As far as we know, and I haven't seen anybody disprove this, you can go into, if you there in Minnesota, you can go into your little courthouse. Has anybody disproven that part?
No, they've just said it's not, that you can't do it. I haven't seen a one way or another. I still think it was probably an unredacted copy that wasn't supposed to be available to the public, but we don't know.
Yeah, so you can say that, but I'm gonna need a little bit of proof on that one.
And some people are going to say, "Oh, you like leaks when it helps you, but all of a sudden you don't like leaks." Something fishy is going on, and that is my only takeaway from this.
Well, look, these are two anti-government conspiracy theorists, and they don't have a problem with the government keeping these files secret.
Yeah,
that boggles my mind. That is hypocrisy.
Yeah. Hey, don't trust the government, and you shouldn't be able to see these things. Only the government can see.
Yeah, but why were these leaked? Well, wait,
Look,
you don't trust the government 5 minutes ago. Why are you insisting that the government be the only people that can see these documents?
Sean, are you not following this story at all? I'm just curious. I forgot what I was about to say.
I don't know. Something.
Me neither.
Smart.
I just got distracted because he was talking about how little he knows about, or he said what he sees is from people sending him clips. They often have takes that I agree with, but I don't believe you let people get away with bad takes just because you mostly agree with them. It's always been a thing of mine. If I think you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, and I don't give a damn who you are. I wish I wasn't like this, Jack. We would be so much further along.
Yeah, we do tend to have unpopular opinions occasionally.
And, people have bad opinions sometimes.
Yeah.
My problem with this and why I'm going so hard on them is because of what we're talking about here. And they're going to get into this later.
Dude. 9-year-olds.
Wait till we get to that fucking part. I think that's the part where I stop listening and go, nah, I got to do this live. Anyway.
Oh, this could make you mad, isn't it?
Probably.
My doctor isn't going to like you. I'm going to blame you for my blood pressure.
Chicago Mike, thank you so much. Monk and Jack. The only law tuber that I trust is Nate the lawyer. I don't know that I watch or that I trust anyone.
Never trust the lawyer.
There's a lot of times where, sometimes people are just wrong too. So anyway, I don't know. Ricada saying only gets sent the bad Barnes takes. They're going after Nate the lawyer. Yeah, Barnes blocked him just for disagreeing with him. It was funny as shit.
Information that the kid, the 9-year-old, tested positive.
Oh, that's what it was. Hang on, we'll back that up. He was saying that there's something fishy going on here.
It's fishy.
We all know that got leaked when it did to embarrass Ricada. This gets leaked an hour before Ricada is supposed to go live on his first real return show. It was done to embarrass him, and it is entirely possible there's somebody at that courthouse who really fucking hates him and leaked this information, but that doesn't fucking matter.
I have a theory on who released it. It's whoever has to respond to all those ethics complaints that random people that hate him sent in.
It's Aaron. That's who did it. Cucky McCuckface. Yeah, so it does not matter because I don't care who leaked it. Go ahead. If it was leaked illegally, prosecute him for doing so. I'm fine with that. It doesn't change the reality that a 9-year-old was found with 500 grams of drugs in her hair follicles.
Yeah. Look, your hate facts have no place here. This is a pro defense of Ricada, so obviously we must smear everybody but dear sainted Ricada, who left drugs around his child apparently, and let the kid may have used let the kid use drugs. I don't know. I'm not in the room with him. Maybe they thought it was baking soda and wanted her to brush her teeth with it every night. Who fucking knows? Somehow that kid got drugs in her system.
By the way, I remember the other day when we talked about uncivil law and his take that maybe it was a dirty spoon. And I stressed that I was showing it so I couldn't be said that I was taking it out of context.
Yeah, that was funny.
Comment on that fucking video. You took him out of context. I showed what he said. I don't even think he was really all that wrong. It's just that he was still trying to cover for Nick, still trying to make it that somehow it was an accident. A 9-year-old does not accidentally get enough drugs to be classified as a regular user. This is somebody who's using damn near daily. They're not high all the time, but once a day they're like, I'm a little stressed right now.
So was he leaving unsecured drugs around and the kid was mimicking mom and dad, or were mom and dad using this as some way to pacify a child?
I still think that it is entirely possible, because Nick has said that he thinks that there's some positive medicinal quality kind of things to cocaine. I think they might have been trying to medicate this child in a way that, Western medicine's like, you shouldn't do that to a child.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't surprise me either. There seems to be a lot of kooky stuff going on in that household. And
Right.
The smugness and arrogance of Rekieta makes pretty much anything on the table.
Nate is good people. When it was super popular to say Ahmed Avery's case was self-defense, he, like me, got a lot of crap for pointing out that they'd be convicted under the law. Yeah, we took some shit for that around here too.
Yeah, we lost a few viewers because just because somebody used a gun doesn't make it the right time and place for that.
Yeah, Aubrey's the one who was running through the neighborhood and the citizen's arrest was made and they shot the motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that was more of a citizen execution than
Yes, it
anything
was.
else.
Yes, it was.
They were all found guilty, right? They were all convicted.
Yes, they were.
That's
what. FYI, Bob, thanks so much. Curious question, guys. Nick's 4 other kids, are they all sons?
I believe there's only 1, maybe 2 boys.
Yeah, it's a mix. I don't remember exactly. I know I've seen, but I don't know.
I'll look it up real quick because
I want to say it's like 2 boys and 3 girls.
I'll pull up the filing paperwork here. It says on there.
Red Feather just said no. 2 oldest are boys and the rest are girls. There you go. So you can still look it up, but hey, back to these idiots.
The headline, the information that was leaked, confidential information leaked from the court. And some people are going to say, "Oh, you like leaks when it helps you, but all of a sudden you don't like leaks." Something fishy is going on, and that is my only takeaway from this. They leak this private.
Your only takeaway from a child having that much coke in her hair follicles is somebody leaked it.
Yeah. But the government is the bad guy here. Yeah, the 2 oldest are boys, the 3 youngest are girls.
Private information that the kid, the 9-year-old, tested positive for cocaine. I listened to your bourbon. I listened to a couple of other people's streams to see if I could make sense of it. It doesn't seem like anybody's even asked a question. What was the test? How did it work? Was it?
Nobody had to ask what the test was. It's on the fucking paper. It literally says a follicle test was done. And Jack, I spent the next day reading about the follicle test.
Yeah, I know.
A whole bunch of other people went on their streams and did this. I think even no, not Uncivil Law. We talked about him. He did. He pulled up the information on his stream. What's it? Legal Mindset. I know he did it too.
Yeah. Well, a lot
I watched
of us
a couple
were
of people
about it. We talked about in depth about the follicle test.
Yeah.
And most people that are trying to defend Rekieta here are either lying or getting it completely fucking wrong.
Oh, just wait.
And how many people did we have to correct that thought it was just like when they pulled the hair out, they were looking for like dandruff. They weren't actually testing the inside of the hair like they actually were.
Oh, and I need to correct something, kind of. I said that they wash your hair. And somebody's like, they never washed my hair when they did the test. They washed it before they tested it. That doesn't mean they shampooed you like you're getting your hair cut. They pull the follicle and they clean it. Anyway, and Bubba, don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me.
Bubba's
did a urine blood test or whatever, and so they just repeated. Tested positive for cocaine.
They all said the follicle tested. I bet you I could go through every single one of them, and every single one of them says the follicle was tested.
There's gonna be one person that misunderstood it, who's like got 5 subscribers, and they're gonna be, aha!
No, dude, if you talked about this and actually read the document yourself at all, it clearly states what kind of drug test it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very blatantly.
It's
again,
not vague at all.
We are talking about lawyers who will omit facts and use that as truth.
Joe Biden's going after Nick Rekieta, 1776. Yes, indeed.
Oh, real quick, Frosted. Hang on, a young girl's hair with cocaine in it. If Joe and Hunter ever come across it, they'd fight over like Smeagol and Deagle in the opening of Return to the King.
Katie, yes. It's heartbreaking to me that one of Nick's kids tested positive for cocaine. Who gives a fuck who leaked it? Exactly. Yeah. Again, if it was illegally leaked, by all means, go after whoever did it. I have no problem with that at all.
I think they're the hero we need, because this is exposing the scummy behavior of a bad parent.
To me, who leaked it isn't a matter of concern to me. That's a matter of concern for the state of Minnesota. They can deal with that shit.
This is I was watching an episode of House earlier, and House had a great analogy that fits right here. You're in your house, and there's a painting on the wall, and it's melting. You have a tea kettle going off, and it's really warm in there, and it's kind of stuffy, and there's like a haze. Which problem is the major one that you want to deal with first? That's because your goddamn house is on fire. Maybe you should get out.
Thank you, Dangerous. Barnes and Viva took my respect and burned it to the ground. Then they took a piss all over the ashes. Now they seem to be trying to reignite the piss-stained pile of ashes. For the love of God, stop.
Yeah, these two are arguing the semantics of rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You got a bigger problem here, which is there's a 9-year-old with cocaine in their system, you fucking assholes.
This part here, I lost so much, and I keep saying this every time we watch one of these. I lost so much respect for Viva. I don't know who he's watching where like they didn't say what drug test did it. Everybody was talking about it, and he's just bullshitting his audience. He's just lying. Anyway, if you think you've lost respect, Dangerous, I don't recommend you watch anymore. Because once Barnes starts talking, holy fuck. Anyway. Let's let Viva finish his stupidity.
10 times the limit. And they took his 5 kids away, placed them in stranger foster care. I don't know why they couldn't go with the grandparents. I don't know why
they can't go with the grandparents, because under their state law, they have to go to a licensed foster home. And what they do is if there's not somebody in the immediate family who is not a registered foster care provider, they start working with them immediately if they want the kids to try to get them.
Yeah, they have to get certified.
To get certified for it. So that's why, because nobody in their family was qualified at that point. That's why.
Yeah, depending on the state, I'm not 100% positive about Minnesota. I looked it up a while ago. I lost interest. But some states, you just have to have like certain inspections done to make sure the environment's safe for the kids, run background checks, shit like that. You may not have to be certified to be a foster parent, but I think in this state there's some sort of lengthier process involved. That the kids could get placed with the grandparents soon enough, but it's not going to be right away.
Yeah, and they do. I went and read these laws just the other day. I think it might even been because of this stupid fucking video. They won't place them with just throw them in the family members, because they still got to make sure the kids are taken care of. Which might sound ridiculous, guys, especially like you're talking grandparents. They raise the dad. You mean the coke fiend?
You mean the coke fiend, yeah.
But so what happens is they start fast tracking them through this foster care process. But anyway, you're a fucking lawyer. You couldn't read this? You couldn't go look that up?
Well,
I don't know why.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery for the ages. Fuck you. Go back to Canada, dum.
That's why for my title, I put Crowder's cell phone, Barnes gets worse. And I was like, what can I say about Viva? And she's like, he's Canadian. That's I don't know what else I could say that would be worse.
Well, look, I like Canadians for the most part.
And true.
Can we trade him for a good one? Like, we got a broken one. Can we get the guy that plays Shorzy or something? Like, or maybe we could get Della Hazed.
There have been
One of the
plenty
other
of,
cool
of
Canadians.
Canadians in our audience that we should definitely take and send Viva back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I guess the sister who ratted them out is not going to take the kids. She just wants to, drop bombs and let the dust fall where it falls.
the sister who ratted them out just wants to drop bombs and let the dust fall.
You mean like she was like, oh, they're letting the kid do cocaine. Oh, let's see where that one lands. Fuck you. The sister did the right thing. These kids are filthy, wearing the same clothes, probably not getting their homeschool lessons. Let's be realistic. And the kids were hungry enough. They're complaining to other people. And now you find out one of them's doing coke. Yeah, the sister did the right thing here. I'm sorry. That sister should get a fucking medal.
Rats him out.
Yeah, that treacherous bitch. Snitches get stitches.
He's got coke all over the house with kids. Thank you, FYI, Bob. By the way, Nick's best friend Drex finally came along to do an interview with Camelot while having Drex shirtless. How weird is that? Doesn't Camelot do that? They're often showing off their bodies. It's kind of weirdly homoerotic.
Yeah, that's a little gay.
It's like fine. Watching.
If he wants to come out, it's cool. No one would be really surprised, I think. But
yeah, it's like watching Top Gun, but only the volleyball scene
on a loop. Maybe he was trying to entice Camelot to get distracted him or something. I don't know.
This is giving me Innocent Project vibes. Oh, dude, you and me are so in tune on the Innocent. I think the Innocent Project has done a few good things, like 3.
Yeah, monkeys and typewriters, dude.
And most of the time, they're just getting guilty people out of prison.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's what they turned into.
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of how they started too. But anyway, let's get Viva going because we got a long way to go. We haven't even started on Barnes's worst part.
I'm mad already. Thanks, buddy.
We've been talking for 30 minutes, basically just about Viva's bullshit opening here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just very angry now.
You EFAP pussies got to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, you guys got to try harder and change your names to work kind of EFAP, not like Monkey and Jack. No.
Every 30 frames a pause is what they should change it to. And again, I love those guys. I'm just giving them shit.
Now that I made the Finster baby reference, Barnes looks more and more like a baby with a fake goatee on to me.
He looks like Baby Herman.
He does.
Yeah. If you guys don't know that, you need to watch Roger Rabbit. Anyway, here we go.
Tell us, so in your bourbon with Barnes, you mentioned it was a hair follicle test. How do you know, and what is the nature of that test?
You mentioned it's a hair follicle test. How did you know? He read the thing that you're so mad that people leaked, dude. The thing you're talking about. All right. This is your last chance to bail. Barnes is about to be really fucking stupid, and I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at you. So here we go.
Yeah, so it is fascinating that this information, it's supposed to be confidential in the state of Minnesota. They took the kids right away, originally just on protective custody grounds.
Because there was coke in the home. Why don't you say that part? He used the air quote on protective custody. The coke was just sitting out.
No, know why? Because he considers that government retaliation, and apparently you should be allowed to keep your kids if they find drugs in your house, because that's none of the government's business.
I'm not pro-government. I'm a small government guy, but can we admit that removing children from a drug den is probably a good thing?
Look, unsecured firearms with ammunition laying all over the place and drugs scattered about. How dare you, monkey, you big government statist.
For the record, I do believe Nick said that the gun did have was it a trigger lock on it? The gun itself was just laying under the bed. There were bullets just on the floor out in the open. But we talked about that before. We didn't know whether it had like a barrel lock or a trigger lock or anything on it. If I remember
don't
correctly,
trust
he
Nick
did
on
say
this.
it did have that.
Yeah, well, the cops didn't say that. And right now, I find the cops a little bit more believable than Nick. So maybe he did, but what surprised me that the keys were still in it or laying nearby or otherwise unattended. So I'm not taking Nick's word on anything here. He is proven to be an unreliable narrator.
That is going to be such an understatement when we talk about Barnes.
And then they treated the government, they treated the kids as their property, started engaging in medical testing of the children.
Yeah, they tested the kids that were in the drug house for drugs. It's pretty standard, you know.
They make it sound like Dr. Mengele came in the room and started sawing into them for no reason. Medical testing. They took some hair follicles, you asshole. That's it. They plucked a couple of hairs out. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Suck it up.
Medical testing.
They subjected them to medical examinations.
They did a hair follicle biopsy.
I don't care if they did a full physical on these kids. They probably had to check them for malnourishment. They probably checked them for, being diddled. There's a lot of things they do when they take kids into custody because they have to cover their own ass too. So you can't come back and sue them later because the kids weren't like that when they left my house. So it's a CYA, but usually what happens when you put kids in protective custody, when you first take them out of a home, they do get medical tests. They run, see what their blood work looks like. They'll take a little bit of blood, big deal. Nothing truly invasive.
And in this case, we're talking about they plucked a couple of hairs.
Yeah. I don't doubt they gave them a physical too. I don't think they drew any blood, but they likely gave them a once over to make sure there weren't any bruises from being beaten, things like that. That usually happens when kids get put in foster care, especially in emergency placement situations.
For the record, he's not suggesting that there was any physical abuse here. It's just what they would do. Just
mandatory, our standardized testing that they do when they take someone out of the home. I'm not suggesting that's what happened. I'm saying that's the procedure that's in place.
Yes. Procedure, that's the good word. And I just wanted to clarify that before somebody goes, you said he beat his kids. No, we didn't.
Without the consent of their parents. Without
the consent of the parents is irrelevant. They're in state custody now. The state is their parent now.
Yes.
You don't have to like that. But the parents can't be like, no, I don't want you seeing what I did to him.
Yeah.
Duh.
That's the other part is okay, the kid shows up with all this drug. The people who allowed that child to get this drug, they weren't even consulted, man. Fuck. We should just release them all now. Christ, this guy.
Has he never seen a child taken out of a home before?
No. Hang on. He's got extensive history with this.
Well, then he knows he's lying.
Children Protective Services often does. They commit constitutional violations on a regular basis.
It is not a constitutional violation for a child that is in a home like this, with everything we know, for them to take those children away. That's not a constitutional violation. It's not a constitutional violation to pull their hair to check for drug.
This has been ruled on. First of all, when CPS takes your kid, they become the de facto guardian. There is a guardian ad litem here. She was named in the document. It's the GAL that we saw several times. Guardian ad litem. That's the person who's supposedly semi-independent of everybody, who gets to make decisions for the kids that are in the kids' best interest. And you know what's in the kids' best interest? To be checked for drugs. Because children can't make those decisions for themselves, despite what apparently Barnes seems to think is okay, having a 9-year-old on drugs.
He has a good reason, though.
Oh, no, he doesn't. No, don't lie to me, man.
No, he doesn't. But he's going to pretend he does.
God, this is pissing me off.
When CPS wakes up in the morning and goes to sleep at night, it's committing a constitutional violation. And for those that want to lecture about protecting the kids, I've done more work than every law tuber out there representing victims of abuse in this context, represented hundreds of victims of abuse. And the organization I found to be the least reliable, least trustworthy, least likely to be an ally is the Children Protective Services.
Okay, here's another one where, because he's like, "Do you believe anything the government says?" We all know there's problems with CPS. We all
Yes,
know it's been
horrible
abused. We all know there's
problems.
some really horrible people involved in it. But that doesn't mean it's that way every fucking time. And
Yeah.
in this case, we're not talking about CPS. We're talking about the drug testing company that found the drugs.
Also, if you don't want your kids in Child Protective Services custody, great way to avoid them is don't have drugs in your goddamn house.
So it's from personal professional experience that I speak about Children Protective Services and the state never being somebody you want in control of anybody's kids. But what they did is now you might ask, all they did is hair follicle testing on each of the children.
All they did was the hair follicle testing.
Why didn't they do blood testing? Why didn't they do urine testing? Why didn't they do saliva testing?
I can answer that for you. Because none of those tests is reliable beyond like 3 or 4 days. That's why.
Yeah, the hair follicle test is one of the more reliable ones. It's also going to show the most results.
Your body metabolizes the drugs you were doing. So after a couple of days, it doesn't show, where the hair test will show up to 90 days.
Yeah,
that's why.
And because it was cocaine, they knew that saliva is not going to be much use, and blood is probably irrelevant because, like you said, a couple days. So they went straight for the hair follicle test. We don't know necessarily that they didn't do those other tests or they didn't think about it. We just know this one came back positive.
I can tell you why. So about 20 years ago, they discovered hair follicle testing became a favorite of certain employers and other people, in part because it's cheap, but also because it creates one of the highest rates of false positives known to man. To give you an example, here's why CPS loved it.
Wait for this.
They found that 95% of kids who have a caregiver that has a drug abuse issue will test positive with the hair follicle test for the drugs.
Okay. Does anybody see, just on the face of what he just said, the problem with his argument there? 95% of kids that are in a home with drugs test positive. Anybody see the issue with the Nick Rekieta case? Hey, Jack, how many kids does Rekieta have?
He has 5, sir.
How many of them showed up with drugs?
1.
What percentage is that?
25 or 20%?
20%.
I'm not good at math. Don't ask me math questions. What is this, high school? What are you, a teacher?
Look,
what kind of trap is this?
They did the study, and it showed 95% of these kids have drugs. So Nick's kids, those other 4 are just really, really rare exceptions.
I would like to see his source on this, because you know what I'd be willing to bet is that he's talking about mothers that are nursing their children.
He's also not talking specifically about the cocaine test.
Oh, why would he want to do that? That would ruin his point.
This is why I brought up earlier, marijuana is what usually throws these tests off, because it's notoriously unreliable for that, because it is so much more in the environment.
To something he said earlier too, why would employers favor a test that shows false positives?
That's a great question. I don't know. And I don't know if he talks about it. It's right around in this range where I stopped listening, and it's all going to be new to me too.
It's not because anybody thinks that any of the kids are using drugs.
No, it's because it's in the environment. And there is a difference if you're a child in a house where marijuana is being smoked, where it actually goes up into the air and you can ingest it, even in amounts that don't affect you, and still show up. Remember, the cocaine test, even with the medical treatments where they still use cocaine for surgery, that is not enough to trip this test.
It's not going to trip it at the level this kid had it.
It can't trip it at all.
Yeah, incidental contact is not going to give you the results this child had.
The minimum is 500, and she showed up with 5,000. It's absolutely insane. If you guys hear squeaking, that's just me rolling a cigarette. I was lazy tonight, and I didn't roll any before the show.
So this kid is like Super Saiyan levels.
Yes.
And Barnes is like, oh my god, the test is bad, government bad. Nick, innocent, good boy, didn't do nothing. There's your synopsis. You brought up the speed, guys.
But he did just prove his own self wrong with 95% of the kids have it. Really? Because only 20% did here. That's kind of weird. Maybe that wasn't in your study in those hundreds of cases you've done.
Well, he's not going to point out the fact that the other 4 kids were clean. So I don't know why that would be unless he's just blindly trying to defend his buddy Nick. And he doesn't actually care about these kids' health at all. He's just about defending his buddy.
Saint says, yeah, that's what you roll. No, seriously, I live in a state where you can do marijuana if you want. I'm not even ashamed of that. And I have taken edibles to help me sleep with the pain that I have. I don't like being on it. It just makes me sleepy. And yeah, it's just old-fashioned tobacco.
Yeah, I am allergic to marijuana.
You know why I do this? I'm honoring the Native Americans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
They can use that as evidence that the kid is around drugs and thereby say that the parent should be removed from the equation. And the government here always to help you out with that, foster parents. Maybe they'll take you down to Jerry Sandusky's little foster care provision.
Wow.
Look, there are a lot of problems with the foster care system, and there's a good chance you could get touched there. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of problems. I don't know about their area, though.
Okay.
That's a broad sweeping generalization that mostly applies to big cities.
And let's say that you can get touched in the foster care system. Does that mean that the children shouldn't be removed from parents who are, doing drugs around these kids?
And apparently letting one of them do drugs.
Thank you, Dangerous. When Barnes presents a blatantly stupid legal point and then says, I have legal experience in this, that's not a boast, you dumb bastard. It makes me feel like your clients got shit representation. Yeah. Well, again, I mean, this is kind of the defense lawyer thing. Not every case is Kyle Rittenhouse. A lot of times it's like, no, this motherfucker's guilty, and they still have to present some kind of defense.
Yeah, sometimes there are bad people out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad people who absolutely belong in prison. But anyway, the sovereign citizen twins here have more to say.
That's who the government tends to provide aid for your children for. All these people on their moral self-righteousness about, I care about the kids. No, you don't. You're a bunch of frauds.
Go fuck yourself, Barnes.
Well said. That's up. Yeah.
You don't know anything about this if you say that. But so 95% of kids tested positive when their parent was a drug user.
One of Nick's kids did. 20% of Nick's kids did.
And it wasn't even the youngest kid that would be around the parents more often.
Yeah.
It was the second youngest, the 9-year-old, who probably has friends and goes out and does stuff.
So it isn't because 95% of the kids are using drugs. It's because hair follicle tests pick up drugs in the environment.
Oh, okay. Are you saying there were clouds of coke at Nick's house? Is that really your defense?
If that were true, if it's because there's drugs in the environment, all of the kids would have tested positive.
All 5.
But they didn't. And he's wrong for multiple reasons.
But again, the audience that he's talking to just wants to believe that the government is completely corrupt. I agree it's mostly corrupt, but completely corrupt. Anybody that they arrest that I like, it was completely wrong.
Well, I mean, obviously. And this is sainted Nick Rekieta.
And he gives this, and his audience that buys into that shit will listen to this and go, see, 95%, there's no possible way it's 95%, without ever thinking about the fact that if it was environmental, all 5 of these kids, even by Barnes' own numbers, 95%, it's got to be all 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because 4 of them is 80%. That's still way too low. All of them would have had this in their system. And none of the other ones came up to even the 500 minimum threshold.
Yep.
I got a GED and I'm schooling you, man.
He's got a study that he won't tell you which study or any of the information about it. You just got to trust me, bro.
You should be ashamed of yourself. And you should go sue every institution you came up through. You'd probably fuck it up, though.
And it's why they use hair follicle test and not blood test, saliva test, or urine test, because those will come back negative.
Go again, you son of a bitch. Drugs do not stay in your system forever. If you do cocaine right now, if you're listening to me right now and you're snorting a giant fucking line, a line that would have killed Sam Kinison in his heyday, a month from now, it's not going to be in your system anywhere but your hair. Maybe your fingernails. But they don't do fingernail tests for obvious reasons.
But he's doing the usual lawyer deceptive shit where he's omitting the facts of that. No, obviously they're guilty of conspiracy because they only did the one test that would show this. It's also the only test that would show it's been in your system for a while.
If you look at the various other drug tests, depending on which source you read, the longest that they'll find the drugs in your system is 3 weeks. That's it. 3 weeks and it's done. It's out. And most of them, if you read, it's a week. If you're talking about like a urine test, it's a few days. A blood test, a couple of days. That's it. The saliva test, that's the one that it can go. You'll read that it's somewhere between a week and 3 weeks. But even then, it's only a few weeks. You go with the hair test because it goes back that far.
That's why after an industrial accident, they make you take a piss quiz because they want to know if you were on drugs that day.
At that time, yes. And even then, it's not enough because you could have done it the day before and end up fucked on it. You could have been perfectly sober at the time.
Well, that's your own fault. Be more careful at work if you're doing drugs.
I've had to take several tests for that when I've gotten hurt at work.
Yeah, it happens all the time. But that's why they give you the piss quiz instead of like, we need to comb your hair.
Yeah, and I passed all of the one. They're like, you're gonna have to take a pee test. I'm like, I don't care. Do I even seem high to you?
I didn't take one where the lady had to go in and hold the cup for me.
Nice.
And I peed on her hand.
That's what she gets. Dark Resurrect, thank you. I've been saying this through the whole thing. I hate the government, and I always err on the side of corruption or of corrupt. However, they sometimes do the correct thing. This is correct. Yeah, I mean, we kind of have this conversation with the FBI. I think the FBI is corrupt as fuck. But when they lock up a child predator, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get stuff right. Doesn't mean they're overall great.
Monkey, are you a Jew?
I'm not, no. Not today, at least.
I think you've been accused of Jewery once.
I've been called a Jew a few times, yes.
That was like the same day you got called like a Donald Trump supporter and a Biden supporter, wasn't it?
No, that was the day I got called anti-Semitic and Jewish at the same time.
Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry, wrong controversy.
Actually, I think specifically I was called a Nazi.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen.
Here's the second other context in which this has arisen. Employers. Here's a good point of motivated reasoning.
Okay.
So you're out there in the law or in politics, and you want to find what's really the best argument for the other side of an issue or any side of an issue. Try to find someone who has the motivation to do it. Here's who doesn't have the motivation. Children's Protective Services. They use this to steal people's kids on a regular basis. They have no incentive in telling you why hair follicle tests are unreliable for the purposes they're propounding.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. You piece of shit. You're not even being honest about the hair follicle test. You're throwing all of the drugs in together. And this is why the hair follicle test, when it comes to them, they will tell you the most accurate it gets is with cocaine for several reasons. One of the main being that it specifically looks for something only cocaine will have. You cannot fail it because you were eating poppy seeds or any other nonsense. They look specifically for this trace metabolite from cocaine.
Look, I will be one of the first people in line to tell you that Child Protective Services sucks and they are kidnappers fairly often.
Sure.
That doesn't mean everything they do is wrong. It just means in general, I hate them on principle. I've seen them operate. At the same time, I've seen kids taken out of hoarder homes where they had a tunnel system going around their house, where you had to crawl on your hands and knees to get from one room to another, or to a secret part of the living room where the kid had built a fort.
Soul Souffle, real fast, says Barnes is totally ignorant on drugs. No, he's not. He knows damn good and well what he's doing here. This is why I stopped when Sean pointed out that these guys aren't idiots. They're not. They're not. They think you are. He knows what he's doing here. This is a bait and switch.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about the drug. Yeah, we're going to talk about the drug test, but not the specific test that was done.
Yeah, we'll talk about how bad Child Protective Services is, but we're going to gloss over the facts of this particular case where they're actually doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Look, I am so tired of this bullshit of like everything the government does is wrong. That's just not true. Look, we have criticized the government many, many times. I've seen CPS work. They have done some awful, awful shit, but that doesn't mean this case is that. You have to learn to delineate and look at things for what they are, not what you want them to be. He wants to make them out to be the ultimate evil, and that's just not the case. They did the right thing here. They did the proper testing, and they found out this kid has coke in her system. How do you keep getting away from that? How do you keep getting away from the fact that this child, who was in a drug den, let's be honest, has drugs in her system equivalent to a regular user? I'm sorry, Barnes. You're wrong. Stop trying to flex for your stupid friend who's done some really evil shit. And that is what this is. Rakeda did some evil shit. I'm angry.
Judges who don't care about the Constitution to save their lives. The police who love it because they get to use it to incriminate people and put people in a position where you either have to sacrifice your kids or sacrifice your liberty, which is what they're trying to do in the Minnesota case. If you want your kids back, you better go to prison for 5 years and confess you're guilty. That's the leverage. They actually use people's kids as leverage in a criminal case. Welcome to the real criminal justice system. But none of
Pay no attention to the coke found at his house.
those people have any incentive for it. Now, here's who did. For example, they considered hair follicle testing for truck drivers. They considered hair follicle testing for government workers. Well, those people did have reason to object. They didn't want to lose the truckers, and the government workers were like, you're going to take away my job for nothing. So
okay, stop. No. That is not comparable to here. Okay. The truckers, there was no probable cause to think they were on drugs to get the hair follicle test, to get the drug test. And even then, it's legal for companies to require drug tests. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're not required to work at that company. You're not being forced into slavery there. You don't have to work there if you don't like their drug test policy.
But don't go in there and be like, they stood up for their liberties. These children were specifically taken away because there were drugs in the home. They are wards of the state. And they were like, we should test these kids because they were in a drug den. And they found the drugs. Stop acting like the kids showed up for a fucking job interview and they were like, we need to know everything you ever did. They are protecting the children here.
Yeah, well, why does he assume that they're safer in a household with a guy who's denying his drug habit when he clearly got caught with cocaine and is playing footsie with everything? Because it's his friend? I don't understand his logic here.
Well, it's the Constitution somehow. I don't
somehow magically. I mean, I don't remember the founding fathers being like, "Look, man, as long as you're bumping a couple rails, it's cool." But we can't. We
know where it's at in the Constitution, Jack. Where's it at in the Constitution?
It's in the penumbra.
It's in the penumbra.
It's right under abortion. Thank you, Dark Resurrect, for that feminist donation. You have to take everything on a case-by-case basis. You can bring up patterns of behavior, but nothing is 100% except death. Even then, sometimes it's not. It's true. People have come back from the dead. Yeah, you can look at it. a facility and be like, look, there's a pattern of behavior here, and a lot of it's wrong. A lot of what you guys are doing is bad, but you are doing some things right.
Black Romeo says, obviously the 9-year-old wanted to go to a job interview to be a trucker. Indeed. Good time to remind you, we're brought to you by you. Donate if you can. Watch if you can't. We love you either way.
Yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
All right. Back to these two idiots. Jesus Christ.
They fully researched it. And what did they find? Hair follicle testing is notoriously unreliable for determining an individual's own use. To give you an example, years ago, they were doing it for other purposes. But in Barcelona, they found 1 out of 4 kids tested positive for cocaine in the hair follicle testing. Now, does anybody think all the kids were like, all the 10-year-olds in Barcelona are running around doing Miami Vice imitations from the 1980s and doing a line of coke before they played football each weekend? I don't think so.
Okay, let's say that's true. And I'll be honest, I don't know this study, so I'll have to look it up. What was the measurement? What was the measurement of drugs in their system that was triggering the test? Exactly, Faithless. What level?
And
what level?
Were they using the exact same test that was administered here? Because there are different testing companies.
And what did they just take a random sample? Because that makes it sound like they just took a random sample of kids. Were these kids who were in drug houses? I don't know this study, so I'll have to look it up and report back the findings. Anyway.
It's because that's how high the rate is for that testing. By the way, if you have pot in your system, you like hair follicle testing because it is notoriously inaccurate and gives false negatives 70% of the time, even when you just, did some weed.
Again, the false positive or the false negative on cocaine is above 30%. The false positive is not.
So it depends on which one. But the employers all figured this out. The truck drivers all figured this out. They're like, if you're going to do hair follicle testing, you have to follow it up immediately with a blood test, saliva test, or a urine test.
Again, it depends on what you're talking about. If you get into an accident and they do it, and then they're trying to see if you're on it right now. He's making it seem like they're the exact same things. The hair follicle test is to test for long term. 90 days is the standard. 90 days. Hey, Barnes, what drug test will show the drugs in your system 90 days later?
Well, what Barnes fails to realize is most of the truckers aren't doing cocaine. They're doing meth. And meth is best found with a blood test.
Yeah. Will you talk for just a second?
Sure. What's up, chat? Guess who's in church now? This guy. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Rumble? I see Cannibal over there. Hey, Colorful. What's up, Dangerous? See you over there. Brian, how's it going, man? I didn't see that you were there. Sorry, dude. Meant to say hi.
Thank you, FYI Bob. Curious question, guys. Did the cop and CPS did a closed one-on-one interview with the 9-year-old? I'm assuming they did.
They quite likely did.
Yeah. I'm assuming they did it with all 5 children, actually.
Because they're in state custody, I could guarantee you that they almost, I would say 99%, they did a follow-up with that kid and asked her a lot of questions. Probably with a psychologist in the room, because you have to be very careful with interviewing children. You either want a psychiatrist or a psychologist, which are on staff at CPS, so that you don't ask leading questions, because kids are people pleasers. But you want honest answers. So they're going to let a professional go in and interview the kid with questions formed by the police.
All right. Back to ding-a-ling here.
And guess what we've found? So we've got real data now over a decade plus. Over 90% of the people who test positive for illicit substance use in the hair follicle test, turns out they don't have it anywhere in their body when they do a blood, urine, or saliva test.
How many times do we have to reiterate this?
One lasts 90 days. The other one, at best, lasts 21. I wonder why they didn't find it in an immediate use test when they found it in the long-term one. Weird.
Yeah, it's weird that tests are different because you're looking for different things and different reliability based on those different things. That's weird, Barnes. It's weird that would happen. You smarmy little bastard.
I haven't had corn for probably 6 months. There's no poop in my corn. Therefore, I've never eaten corn.
There's no corn in your poop.
Yes.
You said it backwards.
I know I did, but I'm running with it.
I blame older boys.
This is such an asinine. Anyway.
In other words, a 90% false.
See you later,
positive,
Dom.
right? I'll
Later,
tell you
dude.
what probably shocked the
Wait.
people.
I'm sorry. I spoke over that.
Turns out they don't have it anywhere in their body when they do a blood, urine, or saliva test. In other words, a 90% false positive, right?
No. Just because, see, this is why this part pissed me off so much. And by the way, we're way past where I saw just the beginning when he starts talking about how inaccurate the test is. Just because you can pass a piss test doesn't mean you haven't done cocaine in the last 6 months, or sorry, 3 months. Otherwise it's a false positive. No, it's not. It just doesn't. It means you haven't done it this week.
I'll tell you what probably shocked the people in Minnesota. Remember that earlier study? 95% of the kids test positive if they've simply been around drugs.
20%, Dick.
And yet 4 of the 5 came back hair follicle test completely clear of anything. That means that the allegations that there were like drugs everywhere is clearly not the case.
What? Okay.
Just agree with him. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, change that, Mr. Barnes.
Hey, fat man, you were just telling us the reason that it's in her hair is because it's in the environment. And now you're like, no, this means there wasn't any.
His double speak is
okay. No,
gloriously done.
that only leaves one possibility. She was actually doing the drugs.
No, osmosis, or she was manifesting it into reality.
That I'm sure they didn't expect that. They expected all 5 kids to come back with the hair follicle positive because it's in the environment. And there's 100 ways. If your hair is darker, if you're African American, you're also more screwed. I mean, there's all these. There's a reason why a hair follicle test is not the most reliable evidence, but it's exactly why CPS uses it.
Wait, why'd you take that down? I was reading that.
Hair is darker. If you're African American,
so Barnes
you're also more
is
screwed.
saying the stupid shit, and
there's a reason why a hair follicle test is not the most.
I can't hear you over it.
Hair analysis has become standard practice for determining whether someone has abused illicit drugs. Some experts have questioned whether current methods to wash away external contaminants from samples might be affecting test results. See, this is what I was talking about. They washed the fucking hair. The idea that she was laying on a pillow that Nick had been snorting coke off of is just insane. Now one team confirms that for cocaine detection, a pre-treatment step can cause the drug on the outside of the hair shaft to wash into and potentially lead to false identifying someone as a drug user. Okay, once again, then why didn't all 5 of them?
Yeah, stop trying to poke holes in his theories, Monkey, because he's a genius and you're just a rube, and you're dumb, and shut up.
Russell, thank you very much. Occam's razor says the kid most likely came in direct contact with the cocaine, not all this other bullshit Barnes is talking about. Yeah, he's distracting. That's what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, it's all a shell game.
Testing a person's locks for evidence of drug abuse has several advantages over urine and blood analysis. Nobody tell Barnes, no wonder you took this down. It has several advantages, Jack.
What? No, that doesn't help our boy Nick Rekieta, though, and distract from his criminality, apparently. I'm more convinced that Nick's shady as hell because of these 2.
Yeah.
They are going to bat super hard for somebody that's, getting framed by the big old government.
Sampling is simple and non-invasive, and a person's hair provides a record of use over a long period of time, whereas body fluids can only provide a short-term picture. Wow.
It's like we just said that many times.
However, it can be difficult to distinguish drugs incorporated into hair because someone is taken from the drugs. External contaminant, a non-drugs. Sorry, this is kind of blurry on my screen. Look, I know my stream is usually crappy when we're watching videos, but Viva has a very bad video here. The quality on it sucks.
He doesn't want you looking at it either.
No, if you look at him when he's on the screen, even when we're paused, he's blurry as fuck. I don't know why. However, it's difficult, blah, blah, blah. To address this uncertainty, testers wash hair samples to get rid of potential external contaminants. These guys wanted to find out if this step could affect the results. He's going to take this off the screen here real quick.
But it's exactly why CPS uses it. And it's exactly
CPS uses it because truck drivers don't like it. Got it.
Why employers have tried to use it, because if they want to get rid of workers for any convenient cause, they try to use it. But the people who've done the best legal research on this, truck drivers, because they don't screw around. You're not taking away my job for nothing, pal. So and they've proven how unreliable it is. So if you see news stories out there about that, put a real big asterisk beside
well, let me ask you this. So it was my understanding, I'm just pulling up articles that confirm what you're saying in real time, Robert. It was only one of the 5 kids who tested.
You're trying to find out if it's true, so you're looking for confirmation bias.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's okay when they're doing it.
He didn't say I'm looking to get the information. I'm looking to make sure you're right on this on real time. Hair drug testing is not accurate. We shouldn't rely on it. This is an opinion piece in The Hill by Ivan Espinoza Madrigal and Larry Willis.
Positive. It wasn't the other 4. So that is correct. It was only 1 in 5. One of
exactly.
The 5.
And normally, if the kids.
So you pull this up and you're not even going to talk about what you read.
Yep. Well, you probably didn't read it.
Look, I'm just showing that we found headlines that say that. Do you really? You fucking assholes are going to rely on. Look what the headline says.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I got out of this so far.
How many times have we read headlines and then we read the story and it turns out that the headline is sensationalistic bullshit?
Oh, I don't think I could count that high.
That doesn't mean it always is, guys. That's why you read the story.
What? Read the story? Read the whole story? It sounds like work, monkey. Can't you just take my word for it, even though I have a particular bent I'm trying to push? This guy's like Jake Tapper.
Oh, God. This is annoying as shit.
Have even been around drugs at all 5 would test positive. That's the norm. And understand, CPS does this all the time. They use this regularly. So the average success rate is 95. A hair fall. The reason is because of the environment. So there's 100.
Okay, so explain the 1 out of 5 then.
No.
You can explain that it's not in the environment, even though we literally know it was in the environment because they found it there.
No, that was because of the illegal warrant. We have to ignore all that because I didn't like it.
Yeah, the illegal warrant made it so that stuff didn't actually exist. Here's the thing. Even if it turns out that was an illegal warrant, it doesn't mean that wasn't cocaine in his house.
But shut up.
Ways you can get in your hair, right? And if it's anywhere, that's why 1 out of 4 kids in Barcelona tested positive. It's not because they're all doing coke. It meant that it was anywhere. Also because you can just get there's a lot of things they're testing for other things other than the actual drug that they hope is a correlation for the actual drug. Mm-hmm. But it isn't. There's 100 ways that things can go wrong.
You just lied. You just fucking lied again.
What?
What did I tell you about the cocaine test? And please, guys, look this up. Don't take my word for it. The cocaine test only picks up cocaine. That's just fact. It's why it's considered the most reliable of those tests. But no, I'm just going to say words, and I know nobody's actually going to look it up. Sure. All right. God, I hate this motherfucker.
The other problem is just with risk of human error. So for example, every narcotics officer tests positive if you do a hair follicle test for every illegal drug known to man.
That's absolutely not true. In fact, they did the cocaine one on narcotics officers, and yes, it did show up that it was 60% of them had traces of coke in their hair, and then they washed it. And you know what happened?
It wasn't there anymore.
It went away.
What? That's crazy. That goes against what I'm trying to say. So we're gonna have to ignore that.
They washed it 4 times, and by the second time, it was already all gone.
Well, also, narcotics officers are undercover around drugs. You know who else was around drugs? This 9-year-old.
Yeah, he makes it. Look, they found that narcotics officers had it in their hair. Yeah, because they were in places where there were lots of narcotics. So until you can explain to me why this 9-year-old's going to drug dens without her parents, this homeschooled 9-year-old, I'm going to need something else.
Dude, I think Barnes just exposed the fact that this kid is undercover.
She's an undercover drug agent at Nick's house. She's the actual mole.
Yeah, holy shit. We know the truth now. It wasn't Kayla's sister that ratted him out.
No.
This kid's on the inside. She's
it's
undercover.
The 9-year-old. She's 9-year-old jump. She's 9 Jump Street.
Yeah,
that would have been so much funnier if I didn't screw up the line.
She's like Small Wonder, but not a robot.
Yeah. It was her all the time. She's Serpico.
It was the 9-year-old the whole time, undercover.
It isn't because all our narcotics officers are doing their own line of coke and some weed and throwing in some meth before they get on the work.
A lot of them are.
Maybe a few that are. But, you know, I'm sure Joe Biden's going to have like one of everything before the debate on Thursday. You know, pump them up here, a little here, a little here. Come on, Joe, you got to get going. Unless they put the AI version up there. That's why it has the high. It doesn't mean what everybody ran to conclude admit.
All right. I also want to point this out. When they tested the hair, they didn't just go, "Oh my God, we found it." They take a bunch of hair from them. You wouldn't notice it missing from somebody's hair, but it's not like they take one strand. You get Monk to check Rumble. Oh, I'm so sorry. Dangerous, thank you. I can't quite put my finger on why, but when I look at Barnes, for some reason, I think, what does he know about hair follicles? Thank you. By the way, hate their nonsense, but to be fair, I'm here for yours and Jack's nonsense. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Faithless said 4th grade Jump Street.
And it is fascinating. Like when people have asked me, why did all the Democrats and the media really believe that Trump's conviction would derail his entire campaign? Just look at the Nick Rekieta case.
I can't wait for this.
Everybody draws the worst possible.
Can I also point out that the question to him was about why only 1 in 5 turned positive or showed positive?
Nope, we're not going to address that ever because it goes against the narrative.
And he answered with, drug cops have it in their hair. And now we're on to why people believe Trump would lose the election. And it has something to do with the Rekieta case. All right.
I don't really see the segues here, but willing to go along with this.
I'm willing to give Yosemite Sam here a chance.
From every government allegation and assumes it's absolutely true with zero skepticism. What?
What?
No. We assume it's true because he was arrested in his home where they found the drugs.
Yeah, look, I was a little skeptical at the beginning, but then they did the search warrant came out and what they found came out, and then it was a lot more believable than Nick's story.
Why does Barnes look like Down syndrome Professor Xavier? I hate when the audience is funnier than us.
I know.
Thank you, Keldrig. You know when a teenager gets caught doing something they shouldn't be doing and they ramble off any possible excuse they can find, no matter how ridiculous, That's exactly what Barnes is doing. Yeah, well, and again, no, you're right, but he is a little smarter than that. There's a reason he brings up this 1 in 4 Barcelona thing without talking about the specifics about it. There's a reason he brings up the overall hair follicle false positives instead of talking specifically about the cocaine one. There's a reason that he doesn't bring up the hair washing when he's talking about the see, he's obviously read the same shit I did because he brings up the hair follicles of the undercover officers. It's not a hard thing to find, but he doesn't tell you the reality of it about them washing the hair to test and see if that goes away. And they were doing that to make sure that the hair washing thing worked.
Yeah, but this is all obfuscation and half-truths. It's got nothing to do with Trump. He's just trying to gin up support from the Trump supporters.
Yes.
And see, you guys hate what Biden did to Trump, right? Therefore, look what they did to
everybody's just out to get Rekieta.
Yeah, get Rekieta. It's like smoking aces. This is about getting Rekieta's pay pigs and getting Trump supporters to give them money. Look at how evil government is after us.
Yeah. All right, but again, he's telling us about this connection in response to why only one of the 5 children had this in their hair.
Whatsoever. It's what happened during the pandemic. I mean, everybody's okay. I mean, I told people it was a live Milgram experiment. I was just waiting for Fauci to come out and say the best way to avoid COVID is you need to walk everywhere, but only hop on one foot. And if you hop on one foot, you'll avoid the virus. And
well, left foot or right foot?
And that's like Rekieta getting busted. Notice they have yet to say Rekieta didn't do drugs.
Well, they're going to dance around that because, let's face it, he got caught with drugs.
What profession is notorious for cocaine use?
I don't know. I like how the audience is all like, what? We're all there. Nobody knows what he's talking about.
This is like hopping on one foot if Fauci told you to. I don't fucking know.
You're just going along with whatever the government says, man. You're listening to the man. How could you do that? There's an innocent brother being railroaded and shit because he's my friend and he could possibly be doing anything wrong. Please donate $5 to me.
This is the most dandy hippie I've ever seen.
Well, it's the same type of shit, though. I mean, this
you're
is the
right.
same thing you hear from dumbass hippies.
It's exactly hippie nonsense. Yes, don't trust your government. Verify. Thank you, Dark Resurrect, for that feminist $12. I don't know if I said that the last one. Thank you for the feminist $12, my friend. This is some serious bread tube level gish gallop. I fucking hate that word. I don't mind you using it. I just have trouble reading it. I always have to do a double take.
You up.
No, it really is.
That's a word that trips you up.
No, that's why I hate that word. There's some words I don't like because of the way they sound, like crisp. It just sounds gross to me.
It does. It sounds kind of creepy.
Crisp.
Ugh. It's weirdly sexual sounding when some people say it. Like you get a British person that says crisp, and it's like, whoa, dude. Calm down.
They talk about eating the crisp.
Yeah, I went to eat your crisps. Oh, man. Stop. Calm yourself.
Dark says, good to know. I'll keep using it, you bastard. Moist isn't one that does it for me. Crisp is the one that does it for me. I used to like the word crisp, and then I started saying it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, wow. My mom has certain buzzwords that bother her, so we'd form them into a sentence just to mess with her. But you got a super chat there.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did. Thank you, Frosted. Holy crap, he's actually doing the Chewbacca defense. Yes, he absolutely is.
Yeah. Yep.
No, actually, it would make more sense if he was talking about Chewbacca right now.
I would like to hear about Chewbacca. I like Chewbacca. I don't like these two fucking idiots because they're just being deceptive. And their credibility for me is totally shot. Anybody that cites these two assholes, even if they're right, I'm not going to trust it until I go double check it on my own. Because they are doing all this defense for their buddy who clearly got caught with drugs.
I wouldn't even mind this as much if he was just honest about it and go, look, false positives do happen. That's a fair thing.
Yeah, but
He's not
arguing
going
that.
And he's literally talking about Fauci right now.
Yeah, and Trump, and somehow those things are interconnected to Nick Rekieta. I don't know how that you square that circle, but he's not giving enough. He's leaving out critical facts.
Yes.
He's dancing around the fact that Nick got caught with cocaine. And it's all just government scary. That's it. Look, the government, as we've said several times now, you shouldn't trust your government, but sometimes they get shit right. That doesn't make them 1000% evil just because they're dicks on a lot of stuff. Sometimes you nail the right guy and he's in jail for a reason. And maybe this is that case. I don't know, but Nick's not going to do any real time anyway, so kind of irrelevant.
No, he's not. And that's another thing. How about this? Why is it so hard to go, look, yeah, Nick fucked up. We think there might be some problems with the legality here of the warrant. That'll get worked out in time, but he still fucked up. And somehow this ended up in that kid's hair, and that's a horrible thing. And hopefully it was accidental, but it doesn't really look like it. Here's the actual fact. I've never lied to you guys. I haven't told you, hey, the hair follicle test is infallible. It absolutely is. But it's important to know that, especially with cocaine, when it fails, it's typically people who are doing cocaine who don't get caught. And how do we know this? Because they did a study on self-admitted users. So unless somebody was lying about using the drug, and it was everyone that said they did drugs, it showed up that they did drugs. Or there was no false positive. There was nobody in that cohort or every one of those like, hey, I do the drug, and they test them like, yeah, you did the drug. It was the ones who say, I did the drug, and it showed up that they didn't. That's what a false negative is. They're not infallible. It is still possible, very unlikely, that this girl didn't actually ingest cocaine. She totally ingested cocaine.
And you know what would have happened if they got a false positive is they'd run, or if they got a positive, they probably ran the test again.
They do. They run it again. They take more than one strand of hair. They take
they'll take
a little
different
grouping.
parts of the head too.
No, they do it from the top of the head. They do it from the crown.
But you're going to take one from over on the left, one from over on the right, one from the center, just in case.
Of America,
sorry,
would have been out hopping on one foot everywhere. The reason why they do it is because people are gullible.
Fair. It's fair. People fall for the fake press stuff all the time. It's our bread and butter around here.
Well, people are stupid. It's just the way things are. So,
however, not everybody did.
Yeah,
we were very skeptical. We were very skeptical of COVID. We were very skeptical of the Trump allegations. But he's just anybody who's thinks that Nick Rekieta did this. Obviously, you're hopping on one leg because Fauci told you to.
What?
This guy's an asshole.
They usually believe whatever the government alleges about somebody. So you should always express skepticism about that, especially the way this was leaked. Everything about it screams this is a motivated effort to smear an individual and destroy his public reputation.
It's a psyop by the feds, I bet, right, Barnes? Is this a psyop by the Russians?
You think somebody that works in the legal profession there, in some manner, in Minnesota, hates Nick Rekieta so much that they got this document and waited for him to go live at 11 o'clock at night, East Coast time?
Look, sure, that's possible, but then this report has validity because it's an actual report. Then wasn't he trying to shed some doubt on that earlier? Here, two things can be true at once, Barnes. Let's say your weird government conspiracy theory, absolutely true. They wanted to ruin his public image. Can also be true that his kid had coke in her system. Yeah. But I don't even care if it is somebody out to ruin his reputation. It's not changing the fact that this is a real document.
Once again, if Nick Rekieta was a bachelor or him and his wife didn't have kids and they're doing rails, I don't give a fuck. Not one fuck. As long as he's not hurting anybody else, knock yourself out. Don't do it. It's illegal. But if he was, that's what I would say. I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care.
Well, that's none of our business. But there's kids involved now.
Yeah. That's what makes this more than just, oh my God, Fauci said to bounce on one leg. And you're lying to people. You're flat out lying to people.
Gotta get those pay pigs. Here, piggy,
Remember,
piggy.
this isn't even just the drugs being found. Aaron, the douchebag that he is, he was hinting to this before any of this shit came out. It's not like this came out of left field. We saw him on stream. This isn't like Nick looked nice and healthy and was acting normal, and suddenly somebody just went, somebody make up a false CPS report. At what point do you become skeptical of your lawyer friend?
Never. Lawyers stick together and cover for their own because, that's the way it is.
If you asked 100 people what profession is most likely to lie to you, don't you think lawyers would make that list?
They'd be the top 3 for sure. It'd be like lawyers, cops, and criminals.
Even if you're just talking about DAs, Alvin Bragg is a lawyer.
Yeah, garbage one.
Lawyers are liars. And sometimes it's literally part of your job. But you don't trust the government because they're liars. Your dope snorting friend, the most honest guy you ever met in your life. Christ. Isn't it something like 15% of lawyers are known to be on coke?
I mean, I'd be shocked if it was that low, but they probably were litigious enough to get off the list, if you know what I'm saying.
I gotcha.
And by the way, here's why the CPS does this to kids, to parents. They know that the typical reaction of, let's say someone does have a serious drug health issue. The normal reaction.
Yeah, let's just pull a random hypothetical person.
Let's call him Nick.
Let's call him Rick because we don't want to name Rick Nikeda. Let's say Rick Nikeda does have a drug issue. Fuck, man.
Reaction if you take away their kids and subject them to criminal prosecution is they often OD. They often go into a depressive cycle. And they know this.
I'm going to need to see some stats on that.
He's now using the trans defense.
Yeah. I mean, how dare you take a drug addict's kids away from that drug addict environment because they might kill themselves. Obviously, the government is trying to get Nick to commit suicide. That's what he's getting at here, I think.
I had to pause it because that's where my brain went. And to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he's not going to say that because, again, I haven't seen the rest of this.
Well, he already used the Chewbacca defense, so the trans defense is a logical next step. So
he literally just did the trans thing. You can't do something bad or they might kill themselves.
Yeah.
And they do it deliberately. It gives you an idea of who the
government. He literally did it.
Yep.
Okay. We'll back it up just a moment so we can see it unclipped or uncut. God damn you, Barnes.
The parents. They know that the typical reaction of, let's say someone does have a serious drug health issue. The normal reaction if you take away their kids and subject them to criminal prosecution is they often OD. They often go into a depressive cycle. And they know this and they do it deliberately. It gives.
They're literally trying to get Nick to kill himself. Hey, that's not anything you got to worry about, right? Because your friend doesn't do drugs.
Yeah. I mean, constitutionally.
If they want Nick to commit suicide.
Is that him or me? Are they the Canadian Health Board? Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, it's him? Okay, I figured. It's about that time. That's actually past time because normally it's been cutting out at like the hour and a half mark. So I suppose we got an extra hour before it took a shit this time. Well, Nick would have to acknowledge that his kids were taken away first. Yeah, he hasn't mentioned them. But you know what? You know what you can do when you lose your kids is you can have a fucking party all the time because the kids aren't around. So if you're an addict, it's a good time to keep doing the drugs. Hey, Tyray, how you doing? Starscream 5x5, that's right. Megatron had his wireless card go boo-boo again. Thanks for dropping links, Brian. No, we can't hear you. Oh, son of a bitch. They've lost me too. Oh, you tricked me there. Let's see what you did. All right, so what's going on in chat? I had a good day yesterday. I went to Origins Game Festival, Origins Game Fair, and I bought some stuff that I'm gonna unbox. It's a good time. I got to hang out with a couple of friends I haven't seen in a few years, and that was a lot of fun. 95% of lawyers are giving the rest a bad name. True story, Balzac. Thank you, Mighty Balzac. I'm sure he'll read it when he comes back. Sniff, blow, and get blown, Nick, under the test BG Fairy. Everyone get crazy, but not too crazy. Exactly, Dark Resurrect. It's a healthy amount of crazy. And I don't think Monkey knows how off the rails this thing goes when he's not here. Missed out on Neil Breen last night. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't get home till like 2 a.m. And I didn't have internet access for quite a lot of that time. And I was hanging out with those guys, so didn't really pay much attention to the clock. Thank you, Keldrick. I wasn't drinking, Mom, and even if I was, it was Timmy's fault because he bought the beer like a guilty teenager. Yep.
It was me this time. Sorry about that.
It happens.
Yep. And we made it 2.5 hours tonight before I did it.
That's what I pointed out because that's an hour more than usual.
I'm fairly certain I'm going to end up having to get a new case because I don't think I can just get a replacement for the whole front of my computer needs replaced for the USB ports for some reason. Yeah, so oh well.
I've had that happen on my computers before where the USB port goes. That's time to probably get a new computer.
No, most of the computer's fine. Just the case is the case is the oldest part of this computer right now. So it's lasted since 2017.
That's pretty good. Mine's gray. I got it in 2014.
But anyway, sorry about that, guys. We will get back to our story here. I don't remember what I was saying because it cut me off and I got pissed off.
Yeah, that'll happen. Don't worry.
Happens. Okay, that just told me I had a donation. I don't see where it's at.
It's Mighty Balzac donated a little while back on the YouTubes, and he said 95% of lawyers are giving the rest a bad name.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for the donation, Mighty Balzac. Buy a USB expansion. Yeah, it's what I'm going to have to do in the short term. I have one somewhere and I couldn't find it. But yeah, it's the ones on the back are working fine. The ones on the front are dying on me. Anyway.
Gives you an idea of who the government is and who CPS is. They're filled with either lazy people who got there because of some special benefit or political connection, or sociopaths. And
you're a lawyer, bro. That is one big ass boulder you're throwing from your little glass house.
Abusive.
No, he earned it all. That's what it is. He's perfectly normal, and he only sticks up for bad people because he loves the Constitution.
Personalities. And I say this as someone who has defended and represented more victims of abuse than all the Law 2 people combined. I've never dealt with a worse I've dealt with the worst agencies known to man, and CPS is still the worst, still the least reliable, least trustworthy, least honest that's ever been there.
Any chance you're going to answer the question of how only 1 out of 5 showed up with coke in their hair? This is like a 5-minute answer that has not even come close to addressing the question. And Viva needs it because nobody else talked about it. Nobody else even mentioned that there were hair follicles involved.
Well, I mean, people were so dumb they couldn't read the word hair follicle test.
You know he won't. I'm trying to be charitable to the fat liar on my screen.
Yeah, I don't think you could be that charitable with these clowns anymore, man. They've lost so much credibility.
Yeah. And again, this doesn't mean everything they'll ever say is wrong. It just means everything they say, you need to make sure you double check.
Yeah, like Red Feather makes a good point. If they were trying to set Nick up, why wouldn't all the kids be positive?
Yeah. Or at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, like more than one would be a better setup number because one, I mean, that's a little too normal and believable. I have so many problems with that.
Barnes, they said Barnes reaching for a non-existent hair on his head really pleases me.
If people want to test this, I mean, be careful about testing it, but test yourself or your own kid. Send it into one of these clinics and see here. How somebody might ask, how does CPS get away with it? They usually always go after poor and working class parents.
Okay. There's a lot of issues there. You know who tends to have most involvement with CPS, Monkey?
Who?
Single parent households.
No,
You know,
really?
Yeah, because there's less oversight on the kids. And you know who you know what range they fall into socioeconomically? They're poor people because they got one income instead of 2.
Donald says, and only his favorite, most like Nick child tested positive. Yeah, apparently Nick has actually said that that's his favorite child, and because they're most like him.
God, why would you tell your other kids that that's your favorite child? You let them figure that out when they read your will, like a normal adult.
This is, I know as a parent we're supposed to say that, but it's absolutely true. I don't have a favorite child. I have favorite things about my children. I have a favorite thing about this and a favorite one about that. There's not one where it'd be like, okay, if I had to get rid of one, that one can go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, I hate that one. You can take him. We'll give him to the cannibals while they're eating them. We escape.
Yeah, no. It's an all or nothing thing. And to be somebody who says that, that's just so fucked up.
Very, very disturbing.
The only way that it's okay is if you call all of your children your favorite children. No.
What if that's his favorite kid because that kid can keep up on a nose snorting contest?
For a 9-year-old, this one can really chop it fine, so you barely even feel it when it goes in your nose.
She learned to cut it with baby laxatives really well, and man, she can knock a rail out of the park. This is fucking disgusting, man. Everything about this is pissing me off. This whole Ricada situation is just enraging to begin with and incredibly disappointing on many other levels. But the fact that there are all these people coming out as nose guards for him is fucking pathetic.
Very.
Especially with what's come out. If this document is real, which it appears to be more and more, then he should go to jail, if you ask me, because there's a 9-year-old doing drugs in his house.
Well, not anymore.
Well, not anymore, no. But and he doesn't seem to be too interested in getting his kids back.
Well, I guess we know at Nick's house, we know what things go bump in the night. It's Nick and his kid.
Yeah, it's their noses anyway.
Who have no political protection, no legal means to defend themselves. And and often people that do have issues.
And that's fine, but it has nothing to fucking do with this case.
That are not in the perfect mental health, that are not in the best position, physical health, but most particularly they don't have the financial means. And so I think they made a mistake here because Ricada does have means and is not showing a self-destructive, implosive reaction to all of this.
Really?
He went on a live stream and insulted the woman or called out the CPS woman. We didn't get to that when we watched his live stream, but he calls her out by name. And he hasn't self-destructed at all.
No.
Okay.
No, he's not on a self-destructive streak with the polyamory and all the drugs laying around. Totally not self-destructive in Barnes's world.
But I mean, a lot of normal human beings would completely collapse.
But Robert, how do they take away all 5 kids, one of whom is 16 years old?
Well, they said, well, there's cocaine in the house, so you can't be there, kids. That's how they did that. How do you not know how CPS works? Aren't you a lawyer?
Look, only the kid who tested positive for drugs, we're going to take them out. The other 4, we're going to give them a chance to start getting high. The question isn't why did they only take 1 out? The question still remains, and you asked this. You put this to him. Why did only 1 of the 5 show up with drugs?
Actually old enough to be an emancipated minor,
and then assert complete control over him, so they
because he hasn't filed to be an emancipated minor, which involves a legal process. You can't just be like, you are emancipated.
And not every kid gets emancipated. It's a very special set of circumstances.
Yeah, it has to be a specific need. So he's still a minor, even if he's 16 or 17. So he's going to go into the system.
What the fuck?
What kind of stupid ass question is that? It's just because the kid went into the system. Whose fault is that? The person with the cocaine. Not the 9-year-old, the other one.
How do we get to the point of bringing up that emancipation for a child is a thing?
I think Eagle nailed this. Is that a serious question?
Oh my God. Seriously. Viva,
yeah, Shadow. Shadow said, does he think they only take 1 child per arrest?
Yes.
Yes. So they're going to wait for a second offense to take number 2.
It's only 1 kid per 25 grams.
They get to do whatever test on them they want. And by the way, remember foster care systems, one of the issues we raised for children's health. I mean, a lot of normal human beings would completely collapse.
But Robert, how do they take away all 5 kids, one of whom is 16 years old, virtually old enough to be an emancipated minor,
and then assert complete control over them, so they get to do whatever test on them they want? And by the way, remember foster care.
They're not like, hey, let's see what electroshock does to this kid.
They're not removing kidneys.
Yeah, they're not like going in and probing stuff and see like, well, I wonder what your innards look like. No, they're doing non-invasive things. They're not doing surgery on this kid. They're not like, we're going to make you a girl now.
But isn't part of his bullshit that they didn't do the right testing?
Yeah, I guess. Like that was an argument that kind of floated out there. I don't know.
Because they should have done a blood test.
Well, I think I figured out what test he thinks they're doing, because he said a normal person would crack, meaning Nick is somehow superhuman. Maybe they want to go in and see what makes these kids possibly also have superpowers. They're
doing DNA testing. I got you.
Oh yeah, they're going to see if they're really Nick's kids. Maybe
so Barnes, why wouldn't you say all of the testing is fucked up and that they shouldn't do any of the testing on the kids, instead of they didn't do a drug test or a blood test, or sorry, that is a blood test or a urine test or a saliva test
or a physical?
So you would have been okay with all of those? Nah, bro, because I think Nick's probably lucky that they didn't do one of those tests, because then it would have been, hey, this kid did drugs this week.
You know, the worst thing these people might do is give these kids like vaccinations against measles, mumps, and rubella.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Can't have them with those Fauci vaccinations.
Look, I could understand if you didn't want your kids to have the coof vaccination,
sure.
But I would be shocked if we're veering into some sort of anti-vaxxer commentary here.
Look, polio was a government invention so they could put microchips in us.
Yes, even though microchips hadn't been invented yet for like 50 years.
Care systems, one of the issues we raised for children's health defense against the FDA was in Texas. and this included Texas, foster care parents, as soon as they were in foster care coverage, they were getting the vaccine. Boom, boom.
Ah, nailed it.
It's
Nailed
about
it.
government.
Son of a bitch. They cut a couple of strands of their hair, you prick.
Nope, those kids are getting the coof shot. That's what it's really been about. I don't fucking know anymore, dude. This is giving me a headache.
It's always been about government control. And that's why and it relates to other cases we've been talking about here. Like, why do they, we've been talking about people who have been prohibited from adopting, prohibited from operating as foster care parents if they don't have woke ideas, if they don't support any certain gender ideologies.
What does any of that have to do with this
took
case?
Nick's kids away to turn them gay.
I guess turn them into transgender.
They're turning the fucking 9-year-old gay.
Yeah, none of that has anything to do with this specific case.
No.
Yes, CPS does try and force kids in foster care to get the coof shots because they force them to get all the shots.
Viva looks like he's experiencing night terrors. Yeah, he keeps reading too much of the articles he's bringing up that show Barnes is a fucking idiot.
I think he's going right along with him. Viva's reputation is garbage to me because he's not stopping any of this shit. Yeah.
And I have no respect for you now. I really don't.
If they have certain conservative religious beliefs. We've talked about that in multiple cases that have gone up, some to the Supreme Court of the United States. It's part of a broader pattern. They want the state thinks they should own your children.
And they will agree with that, but that's not related to this fucking case.
This is not indoctrination of children through media pushing in schools. This is a case where 5 kids were found in a house with cocaine.
Yeah, the kids were not taken out of their house because they were Christians. They were taken out of their house because there were drugs there.
Maybe that's it. Maybe this is actually a plot to pull down that entire church that Rekieta was part of.
That has like less members than the Westboro Baptist did at its peak.
Yes. They're going after him. The Christians at that church, remember, it used to be it was the church politics, but now somehow churches, it's people who don't like churchgoers.
Like the pastor who was one of the people that called in. It'd be weird that the pastor's like the secret agent and trying to take it all down.
For the record, I'm being a little facetious there because Barnes isn't actually saying that. He's just putting it out there as a way to distract from what's actually going on.
Yeah, he's not saying it just yet.
His friend got busted with a bunch of coke, and clearly his daughter ingested quite a bit of it.
Well, they were probably wondering where all the drugs were going.
I wonder what Nick's level would show up as if he let him do their hair.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Do you think it'll be higher or lower than the kid?
It'd probably be higher.
You think maybe he refused to take the test after the one came back positive because he didn't want to be shown up by the kid because he knows she can do a bigger rail than him and he didn't want to be called a pussy?
Maybe. I mean, I ruled nothing out at this point. Not much would surprise me with this bullshit nonsense.
I shouldn't joke about a 9-year-old doing coke, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Look, if you don't, you're going to go crazy because they're arguing around the fact that trying to make the government look like a big conspiracy when a 9-year-old had drugs in her system. You can't escape that fact.
Possible to do it. And here, they're trying to greenlight their power while running somebody's leaking a smear campaign because the only purpose of that is to smear the individual. They're putting out test results that are very misleading if you know anything about the context.
Test results aren't misleading at all. Yeah. They're putting out the results, which are very misleading. They're not misleading at all. The amount that they found was 10 times the amount that it takes to even trigger the test. And it shows a regular user. There's literally nothing confusing about that.
How pissed do you think Nick is if this kid was sneaking drugs that like she was ripping him off? Do you think that makes her not the favorite anymore?
I had that theory very early on that she was sneaking it, and maybe Nick. Ooh, Nick is the actual mole because he wanted to get that kid because she kept taking his coke.
Oh yeah.
Now
Well, party more without those kids getting into the drugs.
he kept wondering where it was disappearing to. He figured out it was her, so he got rid of her.
Yeah, they were playing a game of Clue, and it was like
Ugh.
kid number 2 in the living room with my Coke.
And they're leaking things that are private and confidential. I mean, they're willing to embarrass a 9-year-old kid.
The 9-year-old kid has nothing to be embarrassed about, and nobody's embarrassing the kid.
No, nobody's embarrassing the child.
Not other than us making jokes like this, which are at your expense, not hers.
Yeah, we're mostly mocking these two retards, and maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of Nick too. But
Definitely Nick too.
Yeah, the child has nothing to be ashamed of. Because she's
I'm worried for this child. Yeah,
I'm very worried for all of these kids. This is all going to fuck them up. This whole scenario, your house got raided by the cops. There's drugs around. Your parents are irresponsible and letting you be smelly and wear the same clothes. Like the oldest kid could do his own laundry. Probably wasn't even there when the house got raided. But they had to bust in the fucking door on the other kids. That's gonna be traumatic. I'm mostly angry at Nick and these two.
Everybody's really just feeling very sorry for her. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying if she went to public school, I might be worried that some people are gonna fuck with her about it.
Yeah.
She's not, and there's nobody was shaming the child. They were shaming Nick. You fucking lying bitch. We're getting very close to me calling him a dumb motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Permanently in the public reputation just to gain a slight political advantage.
Yes, when she goes to get a job in 10 years, they're gonna look up her history and go, "You did coke at 9."
Well,
Jesus
I think her undercover
Christ.
work will offset that. I was undercover.
It's okay. She'll be applying to become a truck driver and won't have to take any tests, so it won't matter.
Yeah. No, like this kid has nothing to be embarrassed about. If anybody, if she is embarrassed about it, she's gonna have to be reminded again and again that her dad did this to her, and her mom did this to her. There's gonna be a lot of resentment there. I don't think it's going to directly impact her career prospects.
Anyway, okay, if Nick had a favorite and she was the one who had coke in her system, she probably idolized her father. This whole thing probably destroyed her, and she probably blames herself. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, kids have a bad way of internalizing stuff like this. So, yeah, a lot of the kids probably have a lot of like borderline survivor guilt of this. They're blaming themselves for what happened, and why did this have to happen to us? And what was my role? Did I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that have jumped on this, Nate the lawyer, some other people that have jumped on this should be ashamed of themselves.
Hey, Robert.
Hot kettle what?
Yeah, thank you. What are you talking about, Baldy?
Yeah, you guys are sitting here making excuses for Nick and his wife. So you could get their pay pigs, defend your Rumble buddy?
Well, I mean, Nate, we're not talking about the days when you used to frame people in New York and brag about it on TV. So unless you want everybody's worst garbage in front of everybody, maybe be a little careful before you celebrate this kind of bad behavior by the.
This is the second time he has threatened to publicly destroy somebody's image over this case.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt he would do it, too.
He did it with Legal Mindset when he suggested that he's a child predator.
Uh-huh.
And he just did it with Nate with, hey, be careful. We know what you've done.
Yeah, but again, this is he's falling back on the government conspiracy here, too.
Is he threatening Nate now? Yes, he absolutely is.
Yeah, that was a veiled threat. Absolutely.
That wasn't even veiled.
Yeah, well, I mean, for him, I think that's what he thought he was doing. But we're not dumb, so we're also not his target audience, I guess, which is the Nick Simps.
The government.
What do you know? First of all, I mean, I don't know what you know and what you can talk about. Is Nick able to talk to his kids when they're in foster care?
Often it's extremely only with supervised visitation. I mean that imagine that they gone. That's why I've told people many times. Unless you think the case is an extreme abusive case, don't ever get.
I think a child having that much coke in their system is an extreme abusive case.
I think everybody involved in this thought it was extreme enough that they were calling the authorities. This is not like they won't use my right pronouns. There's drugs here. These kids
Hey.
could easily overdose accidentally.
If Nick didn't think it was a big deal, why wasn't he busting rails out in the open?
Or was he?
Visitation. I mean, that imagine that they gone. That's why I've told people many times. Even if you, unless you think the case is an extreme abusive case, don't ever get the government involved. The government fails in all these kind of people that have substance abuse problems. It always gets worse. Even if you postulate that assumption of a substance abuse problem, don't get the government involved. That's why
Nick is literally doing nothing to get his kids back. And we're not talking about, Barnes said earlier, they'll make you admit guilt and go to jail for 5 years. No. Get your hair test done.
Yeah,
that's part of what's
quiz.
keeping him from being able to see his kids more.
Yeah, he revoked his consent forms, so they're not going to be able to test him, which means all visitation is going to be supervised if he bothers to try and do it. We've seen no evidence. He's not made any statements or anything that there, and nothing's leaked out saying that he's trying to get his kids back or get visitation or anything of the sort.
Eagle says, didn't that other guy say Nick left coke by his young daughter? Yes, Aaron Imholt said that Nick left cocaine just laying next to his, we were told, 4-year-old daughter.
Aaron's 4-year-old daughter.
Aaron's 4-year-old daughter. Yeah.
I was on with Mark Robert. He was talking about, get people to meetings. Robert Kennedy has a great documentary about it. I mean, Robert Kennedy himself dealt with addiction for 10 years in his life, for a decade. He's talked about it extensively. Has a new documentary about how we handle this and the right way and the wrong way and the effective way and the ineffective way. But CPS, the government is always net negative. I'm yet to see an experience where the government's net positive involving kids. It's just.
I can give you one. I know somebody who was running a meth lab out of their house, and the government stepped in, took the kids away. The husband went to jail. The wife got off, even though she got a suspended sentence, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
It took them 3 years to get their kids back, and now they're actually a decent family.
Yeah. A lot of people just need a wake-up call, and they have to hit that low before they'll get cleaned up. And unfortunately, with drug addicts, it could be quite a while. They have to hit a pretty harsh low, and until that point, having kids around is not exactly healthy for the children, which Barnes here doesn't seem to care about.
No, he doesn't care about the kids at all. And because he doesn't think anybody else does. I mean, he already told us that. Dangerous, thank you. Fun fact, Robert Barnes was going to be a voice for a GPS company. They had to drop him because he took people all over the fucking map. By the way, a lawyer threatening people with what he knows. In fairness, he was saying it about things that he was suggesting were already out there. But yeah, basically.
Just assume the worst. And we should have laws in place that require that any children in any situation like this be placed with the next of kin. That should be the law. Instead, it's government permitted, government licensed.
No, because they have to do background checks in case the whole family is doing drugs.
They also do things like, making sure they know CPR because they're going to be in charge of children.
Yeah.
Understand how much children need to eat and be taken care of. Yeah, it's not just government control. Look, I think the foster system is trash. It's largely trash because a lot of the people who are going into it are doing it for the money and not the children. And it sucks.
Or they're doing it for some political agenda. Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, there's a protocol in place for a reason. You want somebody that, not just because they're the next of kin, but because they're a responsible adult who can hold a job, who can take care of the kids, who's going to have a clean living situation. You don't want that one dude who has no job, who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and is like kiting checks all over the place and probably selling some weed on the side. That's not the dude you want watching over 5 children.
Oh shit, I hit the wrong button.
We should have laws in place that require that any children in any situation like this be placed with the next of kin.
What if the next of kin is a rat who told about how they were doing drugs?
Or the next of kin doesn't want the children.
I
You can't
guarantee
force them
you,
to take them.
I guarantee you that if the sister-in-law who turned them in got the kids, this fat fuck would be up here telling us that she did it so she could steal their children.
Oh, absolutely, he would.
That should be the law. Instead, it's government permitted, government licensed, government approved people.
Another issue that I have to remind myself of is the chat keeps scrolling, so it makes it hard to pin the comment. Pennsylvania CPS ruined my family. We sold the family home, wasted $144,000, and lost 4 of my 5 children to the system. These people have a special place in hell. Caseworkers make money off the kids.
They often are done. Their contract. There's all kinds of subcontracting that occurs with private contractors. There's other financial incentives in place. So their only incentive is to keep them in the system. The longer in the system, the more money they make, the more power they get. And that's the problem. I mean, I can't tell you the rage I experienced dealing with CPS. When I was representing.
We all know about those multi-millionaire CPS workers.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody getting rich off of that, because I've known social workers here in my state, but most of the time when they think they're doing the right thing. It's more about moral righteousness when they're doing something wrong. You know, they think they're doing something that's just wonderful for this kid that might be absolutely scummy.
Nope, they're basically private prisons, man. They're basically private prisons.
Yeah, no, I agree that CPS is bad generally, but that's because of the mentality of the people that work there, not because they're getting some sort of financial incentive. That's fucking dumb. The agency gets money based on like performance reviews and shit like that. But
I'm willing to bet there are people in their chat giving them shit, and that's what Viva had to wade through. I'm willing to bet that they silence people who. Well, let's see. We can minimize that. Oh, they don't have their chat on here. Can you not see chat after it's done on Rumble?
No, it goes away on Rumble.
Oh, that sucks. Well, yeah, so we just have to guess.
Again, actual victim.
What's up?
Cannibal said his talk is like listening to a woman talk about her day.
That explains the yacht I saw with the name Social Work. Yes, that is how social work works. You get into social work if you want to get rich in government.
No, you get into social work because you're going to change the world and fix people. That's why he does not understand social workers.
Yes, he does. He's a liar.
Yeah, well, I think he's more of a deceiver because of the omissions and the half-truths and the circular arguments. But I get what you're saying. I mean, we're just debating semantics now.
This is a guy who's been railing on CPS for most of this discussion. And the first time he brings up how rich CPS gets off of it is when some rando in the chat mentions how 4 of their 5 kids are not allowed back with them, and the caseworker got rich.
Yeah, I would like to see some more information on that. But look, I've seen CPS ruin people's lives for good and bad because some people deserve it. But
I have never once in my life until this very moment heard people going into CPS to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I've never heard or seen that. Anybody that does is delusional. It's a government job. You know, you can
make some good money in the government jobs. A CPS worker is not one of them.
Yeah, maybe if you were like the director, you could make decent money, but not your average social worker's making like maybe middle class income, maybe, probably not, depending on where you work. But again, this is buttfuck Minnesota.
Here in Michigan, the average pay for CPS social workers $61,000.
I'd be willing to bet that's with a few years experience too. I don't see that being an entry level.
No, that's again, that is the average. So that's people that even includes the directors and shit. So
Yeah, you're talking like a lot of those people that never leave that job because unless they, because it's almost always women that work CPS, to be honest, and they don't really leave that job because it's fairly simple and I'm helping. It's an emotional feel good job.
The average hourly pay for CPS in Michigan is $12.63. You'll make more if you go work at Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, fucking McDonald's makes more than that. You're in it for passion. You're gonna fix everybody.
And you know what? He even alluded to that earlier.
But these arguments are fungible for him. It's all what fits the narrative that he's construing at the moment. Because government bad and Nick Rekieta good.
Oh my God, Frost is right. He's now gone to the underpants gnome defense. Join CPS. Step 1, step 2, step 3, profit. Yeah,
you're not wrong. This guy's a caricature of a human being because I don't know. This is like getting a story from a small child about why he has cookie dust on his face and his hands in a cookie jar. Well, you see, Mom, I was just minding my own business, and then there was a spaceship, and the dog was barking, and Trump was there, and then Fauci, and I was hopping on one foot, and none of it makes any. I'm done.
Okay. Ox says it's not the social workers that get rich, it's the judges, ad litems, and the service providers that are contracts paid by the state. It's a numbers game for them. The judges get paid the same whether kids are going into foster care or not. They have an annual salary. But let's say everything you just said is true. He specifically said the social workers, the caseworkers.
Yeah, ideology is more prevalent than financial incentive. Because you got to remember, these people are people that want to change the world are more in the nature of zealots. They're not in it for the money. There's no real money there.
Our fucking audience. If police get involved if you take kids from Walmart, though. I was not suggesting steal kids from Walmart. If you want to steal kids, you do have to go into CPS if you want to do it legally. Anyway.
Yeah.
Of actual abuse, of real neglect. And seeing firsthand that CPS was the worst of them all.
Real neglect. The children were literally complaining about being dirty and hungry, and one of them tested positive for coke. What is real neglect to you?
I don't think he knows what that word means.
Do we know why they weren't able to go with Nick's parents or his wife's parents?
It's the way the court does it. That's why. And part of it's the state law. Part of it's state law in all these places.
All of it is the state law.
But it's the court too.
No, it's the state law. The kids have to go to a licensed foster care provider.
Yeah, and that means the grandparents are going to have to go through all the coursework and shit, which will take a couple weeks. They have to run the background checks, do the home inspections, all that bullshit. We've discussed already several times. It should be easy to look up. How do they not fucking know this? Canada's actually probably stricter on this stuff. So Barnes could ask Frei what he thinks it is, because it's probably stricter in Canada.
He already knows because he's alluded to it.
Yeah, but it's not how he's going to answer, and you know it.
He just a moment ago was talking about how you have to get licensed by the state.
Yeah. Look, protocol.
And
whatever.
now it's the judges. It's the judges.
Oh, it's always the judges following that law thing.
Part of it's the law, part of it's the judges, because the judges are following the fucking law.
There are judges that are idealistic and zealots, but we haven't seen that here yet. There's been no evidence that there's any wrongdoing on the part of the government.
And it wouldn't matter if we had, because the question here is why they didn't go to the grandparents or Nick's sister-in-law that turned him in. Hero that she is. Not all heroes wear capes. Although we don't know if she wears a cape.
I do want to know if she's hot.
In my mind, she is, because she did the right thing here. I don't know if she is or not.
It does like raise your sexiness level, right? But maybe like Red Feather said, maybe the grandparents don't have the room. Or maybe, here's one, they're too old.
Yeah. Could be that too.
Some of these kids are really young. The 9-year-old, obviously, and there's a younger one.
I think the youngest one is what, 6?
something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of upkeep, and I feel old now. I'm not chasing 6-year-olds around.
Anyhow, I just love that he tries to make it about anything other than it is literally the fucking law.
Yeah.
The which isn't even making certain constitutional findings that should be required before you take somebody's kids away.
Are
You mean like
No.
constitutionally finding the drugs?
Okay. See, he's jumping to the end again. He does
Yeah.
this so often. He's jumping to found guilty. And that's not where we start, especially with things like, let me ask you this, fat man. Let's
What?
say that there is a kid in a house of vegans that is 6 months old, nearing death because their dumbass parents are only feeding them a vegan diet. Can the government step in, or should they have to go all the way through a trial for that?
Oh, they have
And
to
I-
go through a trial. You don't want the government stealing kids, monkey.
And I asked that because this is a real thing that's happened, and the child died.
Well, no, that child was liberated from the government.
No, she was just exercising her constitutional right to starve to death.
Yes, clearly. But Barnesy here doesn't give a shit about that. This
No,
is
your
buddy Nick. He's
constitutional
super
right.
innocent. He's got superpowers, monkey. We learned that.
Your constitutional right is to due process. And if you are in the commission of a crime, we don't just let you keep doing the crime because they're your children. There was child abuse here. It wasn't beating the kids, but they were being neglected.
Yep. And the kid was high, so.
Remember Nick's thing? If you think I've abused my child, you're just a fucking idiot. If you think your kid doing coke isn't a problem, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
If you think your children being so hungry they're telling other people we're not being fed, remember, it wasn't just we're hungry, because that's lots of kids say they're hungry. We are not being fed. If you think that's okay, then you're a fucking idiot.
And it's kind of a scumbag, too, because you clearly don't care about your kids at all.
Yep.
Are they all in the same place, or are the 5 kids split up?
You don't know. It's
Imagine
if they did it to your kids or any of.
I'm actually pretty sure. Doesn't it say that they're not all together? They're trying to get them all back together. If I remember reading that report.
Yeah, placing 5 kids in one home is going to be an incredibly difficult feat.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it mentions in there that they're trying to get the kids all together.
In a county with that population, it's almost impossible.
Hey, why don't y'all just read?
Well, they don't want to because there's inconvenient facts in that paperwork.
It would be a falling down moment. I mean, that would be where that drives people. Forget self-harm. That drives people to do terrible things.
Well,
yeah,
maybe don't do drugs.
Somebody taking my children away from me is one of the reasons I didn't do things to get my children taken away. And yes, we know there are people who are that are railroaded, but that does not at all seem to be the case here.
Well, there are ways to avoid or mitigate your chances a little bit, like don't do drugs, feed your children, make sure they're clean and healthy looking.
Notice in all that we've watched of this, Jack, not once have either of these two said Nick has not done coke.
No, of course not. They don't give a shit that he's done coke. They're just upset that his kids got taken away.
Not once have they said there was no coke found in the home. Barnes did kind of be like, well, we'll have to wait and see. But not once have they suggested that there wasn't actually any drugs there. Other than him a little while ago trying to say there wasn't drugs, like a lot of drugs in the environment to where all 5 kids picked it up.
Yeah, but they don't have a problem with the drugs, which is why they don't think this matters. They don't think the kids should be taken away because of the drugs.
I don't have a problem with the drugs. I have a problem with the drugs with the kids there.
Yeah, I have a problem with the kids having access to it.
Yeah.
And the one kid testing positive as a habitual user or regular user, I should say. So, yeah, that's a serious fucking problem. I also kind of have a problem with the unsecured firearms laying around on the floor there under the bed. And I'm not buying Ricade's excuse that there was a lock on that. I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy
I mean,
hell.
that's the nature of it. I mean, and it's and they know that. I mean, by the way, same thing with federal prisons.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Now he's making the Palestinian argument.
Uh-huh.
You put your kid in this situation. Nick's kids are taken away from him because of Nick.
Yep, and Kayla.
How dare you take the kids away when we were, doing drugs and banging everybody?
Yeah, look, if the drugs had been legal, you might have a better argument. But they're not legal, so you don't have a very good argument here. I'm sorry, this is fucking dumb. They're not willing to assign any blame onto Nick at all. There's no responsibility here. It's just the government being a bunch of big bad meanies. This is not Ruby Ridge, asshole.
J-Bet says, I have a problem with the live-in skank being there. What the hell does that do to the mind of the daughters? It's a good question.
Well, I think self-image issues are definitely going to be a problem in the future for these girls.
Do you think any of these kids are going to have, maybe the 6-year-old has a chance because they're so young?
Yeah. Healthy relationships are going to be a serious problem for these kids.
Yeah.
Federal prisons, for example, know that they actually did the study. If they put up posters of people with, moms and with daughters and fathers with sons in federal prison, the original premise was they would encourage people to behave better because they would want to get out. They discovered it had just the opposite effect. It led to them being reminded of what they had lost and it being a very negative effect. So guess what federal prisons did? They doubled the number of such photos.
Good. Sorry.
That's
How dare you have punishment in prison?
Oh my God. How
dare you make them feel bad about what they did?
Oh, those monsters.
Or they don't understand the government people that control these agencies are pure sociopaths. They're the worst human beings on the planet. And you never want these people to have power if you actually care about the kids. Like I see a lot of these people grandstanding. I just care about the children. Blah, blah, blah. Well, if you actually care about the children, you would never want the children in the hands of the government.
Well, whose fault is that? Okay. It's not mine. I mean, I do care about what happens to these kids on a purely empathetic level of well, bad things shouldn't happen to children. But this is Nick's fault. These kids are in the situation. Instead of saying the mean old government stole his kids, why did the mean old government come in and take his kids away? It's not some grand conspiracy. There's some pretty good evidence here that there was actually drugs in the house.
Well, let's say this. Let's say he's right. Kids should never be in the government control like that. He'd be perfectly okay if the kids were allowed to go to the grandparents' house and Nick still can't see them without supervision. See, it's another one of those misdirects. This is the abortion thing. We're like, oh, you don't even want exceptions for rape and incest. Oh, so you're fine if that's the only way we do it? Oh, hell no. He just keeps throwing everything, throwing, just so somebody has something to grab onto when it wouldn't matter what else was done. The only way he's okay with this is if Nick got to snort coke with his 9-year-old.
That's what it looks like to me.
Anything more than that is a constitutional violation, and they're trying to kill Nick in this huge government conspiracy that involves Fauci and Trump some fucking how. Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Yeah. Look, Nick squandered. He really did have it all. He had a trust fund. He was making assloads of money off of YouTube. He's got a big house, a decent looking family, and he blew it all away. Or started it all away, I guess.
It was blow all right, but he was snorting.
All right. That's
a little side rant, a little random side rant.
No, I know but it's
you still haven't addressed the actual situation at all. But okay,
it's morbidly depressing. You have people like Janeway, and I say this without
Janeway.
He's about to read somebody's comment.
No, I know what he was talking about. He's talking about Janeway, Chakotay.
To him, the morbidly depressing thing is
the monkey gone again. Blew it all away from BJ's and Blow. Exactly. Captain Janeway. I don't get to do my Captain Janeway voice anymore. Never forget Neelix is a sea monkey. Is he about to pull a Hassan? I think he's been pulling a lot of Hassans here. This isn't right. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, and I apologize for that because this just is aggravating. You're trying to cover for your goddamn friends' kids having drugs in their system? Yep. He doesn't care about these kids. He's wanting to leave. That's why his computer's not working. And his computer's sick of this shit, too. Like a baldo in the wind. Oh. It's you? Oh, no, it's me. Oh, you kids trying to trick me. Up it on one foot. Fucking ridiculous. So yeah, I went to this game convention. It was pretty fun. Walked around a lot, and I'm fat, so I got tired. But there were a lot of people selling candles there, which was weird. Now, for those of you that are gamers or have ever played like D&D, they made these candles to set like ambiance. There was a shocking amount of this crap. But then somebody had one where they had a set of dice inside the candle. So as the candle burned down, you get a die out of it. So there's like a D4 near the top. That was weird. It was also $65. And I was like, that's dumb. Yeah, RJ, it's about clout chasing and getting his subscribers and donations. No, they were actual candles, like scented. It was really weird, dude. Guns belong at the bottom of a lake, right, Jack? That's where they end up because, you know, when you're fishing, sometimes the boat rocks. Adding too much sugar to coffee cause stomach issues. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't drink coffee, so. Talking about lesbian bicycles and space fish. I try and work shit in, man. It's difficult sometimes. Gwyneth Paltrow candles? No, they were like regulars. Like there was one that was like Elf Dreams or something like that. It was just like pumpkin spice. They're just regular candles dressed up with like a fantasy theme to them. So you have to wait for the candle to play D&D, pretty much. And they weren't even like the like real expensive dice. They were like regular $7 dice. That's weird even for nerds. Nerds have deep pockets because let's face it, they don't go out much. So they spend their money on like cosplay shit and all these accoutrements. It's kind of a hipster thing too now because of like Stranger Things and some of the internet stuff. So they will buy all this goofy shit. Elf Dreams or DMT. No, those are machine elves. So yeah, people are very weird. But they will drop a lot of money. I saw a lot of people buying stuff that was like, well, that's dumb, you know.
Uh-oh.
What?
Hello?
Hello. You're back.
That one was weird. I actually heard when you asked if I left, and I was like, no, I'm right here. Everything froze up and I couldn't do anything, but it still showed me connected and everything. I had to shut down this one whole window and open everything back up.
Oh, is that like a near-death experience for your computer?
It seems to be. Man, I've had the weirdest streaming day. Technically, I think I did 20 streams on Twitch because they were anywhere 3 minutes.
Oh, you're breaking up, dude. Yep, there you go again. I think your computer just hates looking at these two retards. All by myself. Saw those on Etsy, a Baldur's Gate candle. Oh, that's so weird. That's too nerdy for me. Like, you want to wear a t-shirt or something, fine, but I never got the dressing up thing. Like, some people are pretty good at it. It looks pretty cool, but others are just like, wow, never seen a stormtrooper that fat before.
Time for Monkey to sing? No, I'm not done making fun of these idiots yet. Anyhow, let's see how much longer we can go. All right, so he's just getting ready to read one of his chatters there. So and he's apologizing in advance. So I'm guessing they're going to disagree with them.
Yeah,
Judgment,
probably.
Jamie, I'm going to pin it. I'm very mad at Nick for doing this to his family, and I have no doubt that his kids, that they might understand in the long run, but even if they understand, they're going to still blame Nick and their parents.
Oh no, they'll blame
for
the government.
putting.
Trust me, it'll be no. It's the opposite.
Barnes, does Barnes have children?
I don't know. Let's say even in the off chance that he's right, that they'll blame the government, they'll also blame the addict.
Yeah. There's plenty of blame.
I don't know that a child of an addict who doesn't blame the addict. They might even make some excuses for him. You know, they had a tough life, blah, blah, blah. But it's still always they were the ones who did this.
Yeah.
But that's not even where I'm at. Because the person said, I blame Nick for this. And Frei's comments.
All right. That's
That's
a
a little side rant, or a little random side rant.
No, I know but it's morbidly depressing. You have people like Janeway, and I say this without judgment, Janeway. I'm going to pin it. I'm very mad at Nick for doing this to his family, and I have no doubt that his kids, that they might understand in the long run, but even if they understand, they're going to still blame Nick and their parents.
Oh no.
Who should they blame?
The preacher for ratting him out, the preschool kid for ratting him out, the mean old government for kicking the door in to save them from the drugs.
Janeway's correct here. Blame Nick. And you're like, and yeah, the kids are going to blame Nick because he's the one responsible, you dumb Canadian motherfucker.
Yeah, they're going to blame the government.
Well, they're going to blame the 9-year-old. It was Sissy. She's the one who did all the coke and got dad in trouble.
They'll blame
Or
the government.
putting-
Trust me, it'll be no. It's the opposite.
No, but
And
they'll
they'll
do
blame
both.
everybody who put him there. All the people who think they'll get rewarded. I've been through this. Many people can read The Blind Side. Michael Oher is his mother had a lot of issues. He kept trying to get back to his home. That's what
because kids love their parents, and that's the person that they think loves them too. So of course they want to go back to their parents. That's what they understand as normal. That doesn't make it a healthy environment, you fucking retard.
And it's also, you're talking about the mind of a child here. We're not talking about when they get older and they understand what happened.
Yeah. There's if the kid gets abused in the system, they will blame CPS too, but they're going to blame their parents. Anybody that thinks otherwise is just fooling themselves.
I haven't read The Blind Side, but does Michael Oher say his mom didn't do anything wrong?
I doubt it.
Or does he say that as a child, I just wanted to go back to my mom? Because those are two entirely different things. Anyway.
They've studied. They took kids away from parents from parents that had drug issues, particularly pregnant mothers, after they gave birth. And then some they didn't. Guess what they found? That when the kids that they took away, always worse off by every single metric 10 years later than the kids that they left with them.
Yeah, whose fault is that?
Outside of it.
Universally, every child who was taken away from a drug addict did worse than a child who stayed with a drug addict.
I think he's manipulating some data here because they were worse off in life, maybe. But that's because they had a disrupted environment. And a lot of them are going to jump from foster place to foster place because they don't get a forever home.
I hear what you're saying, but every single case, there's not a single outlier? Not one?
Well, I mean, generalities work when they're useful to him.
He said every single one. That's not general. That is very specific.
But
I'm going to need to see your research, sir.
Yeah, it's frustrating because kids that do enter the system do tend to have a lot of issues, but that's not just because they're in the system. It's because they're in an unstable environment. They came from an unstable environment to an alien environment where they don't know anybody. And that's often unstable because they'll bounce from that foster parent to a different foster parent, or they have a problem with that parent, and then of course they're going to lash out. These kids are going to have problems regardless because of the screwed up original environment. And then any subsequent changes, kids need stability. And any subsequent change, as soon as they got accustomed to the one environment, they get shifted to another one. It's disruptive to the way children are nurtured.
Can I just ask, what fucking Mengele motherfucker said, okay, I want to do a test on children of crack babies, and we're going to leave some of the crack babies with the crack whore and the other crack babies in foster care to see what happens?
I don't think that's how that test was ever done. I
don't think it is either.
What they did was an assessment of the mental health of kids that were in the system. And it's not because they're not looking at originating factors necessarily, but they're looking at like end result. Do kids in the system, are they fucked up or are they normal?
What jurisdiction was allowing these children to stay with crack addict or any drug addict?
That's not how the tests are done. That you can't ethically have a control group like that.
You couldn't.
No, not in this country. Maybe in Germany where they do the pedo stuff.
Barnesy, can I see that? I'm sure you're going to name that report, right?
Exceptional circumstances of extraordinary abuse. We should never have the government taking people's kids away. We should never have the government controlling people's children. Period.
Extraordinary abuse. Would that include being subjected to drugs?
What if, Barnesy boy, the 10-year-old says to their parent, I want to be an OnlyFans model. And the parent says, yeah, you should do that. Can we take that kid away?
Or the parent's like, you're a girl now.
We never should take him away, ever. Really?
Well, he said except for extraordinary abuse, which he's not
with
going to
with the
define.
extraordinary abuse. But there's things that are not what he's clearly talking about here, like physical abuse or sexual abuse. Drug abuse? What if, let me ask you this. What if Nick knowingly, if you got information, Barnes, that Nick knowingly was allowing his 9-year-old to snort coke, you're okay with that?
Well, I mean, there are cases out there where drug addicts pimp out their kids to pay for their drugs. That didn't happen here, but it could have.
And
how about that, Barnesy? We're going to just play hypotheticals. Let's go all out, huh?
By the way, if everybody hears that noise, for some reason the charger on my computer is now totally messed up. I'll blame I don't know, something. So if you hear a bing bing, it's because the charger keeps going.
You're up there in Tommy, though, right?
Yes, Robert, and I got over the border. Going back into America is less of the risk. Being in Canada is the risk. They might determine that one of my tweets where I called Jagmeet Singh a motherfucker, they might consider that a hate crime these days. There's a good meme in our USA Now in local says, at this point, your blood is either boiling or it's clotting. It could be doing both, in which case you might want to thin your blood out with a little bit of Quebec gin. Drinking Nocotier tonight. It's a good gin. All right, so what we're going to do now,
okay, apparently these two idiots are done. Thank God.
That was painful,
Jack,
dude.
What do you think? Can your opinion of them get lower?
Oh, I'm going to say no, but I have no doubt that it will over the course of this trial.
I can't believe that this is what they brought out. I mean,
this is a bunch of half thought out crackpot conspiracy nonsense with half truths, outright lies, and other deceptions, and studies that he didn't cite or give us any information on. I have no real respect for either of these two anymore. Barnes is a fucking douche. Like I said, I'd probably hire him as a defense attorney, but I don't trust this guy at all.
Keldry, I'm so sorry this came through a little while ago. Do you think Nick could snort 4 lines at once with his nose? Yes, I do. I don't know if he could pass it up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yummy. I am curious to know if they're going to amend the charges, because I bet they do, and what other evidence might come out as a result of various other search warrants they're going to execute, or interviews with the kids, or friends or family members, or their dealer, or whoever they find. I'm curious to know what they're going to uncover when this goes to trial. That will be released.
Black Romeo says, and Viva's a piece of shit. He actually found something to disprove Barnes. He quickly threw that away and brought up an opinion piece that agreed with Barnes, a fucking opinion piece. Wait. Which he didn't even show what that said.
Yeah.
He only showed the headline of that one.
Yep.
It's entirely possible that it disagreed and mentioned that there's good reasons for using the hair test and that they can be a good measure.
Yeah, this is all about them clout chasing, trying to get pay pigs from Nick and his crowd and Trump supporters, I guess, and conspiracy theorists or some anti-government wackos. I don't know.
I wish I could believe that it was the monetary reason. I don't. I think they're just shitbags who are defending their friend instead of just admitting what we all see.
Oh, I think they could be both.
Oh, I think they're enjoying the money off it. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that's their primary motivation. I think their primary motivation, one, for Barnes, at this point, it's ego. Because how dare anybody question the great Robert Barnes?
Yeah, he's smarter than all of us. Just ask him.
By the way, the Ahmaud Arbery case, my take on that, somebody actually told Robert Barnes disagrees with you. I remember that because I went and watched it, and I said, yeah, Barnes is an idiot, and I was right.
Yeah. Yep.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I think if they challenge the search warrant here, it's going to get upheld. So they're not going to win on that front. The screaming constitutional violation doesn't mean they actually violated your constitutional rights, okay? And maybe Nick's desperately holding on to that theory, but he's got a lot to prove if that's the case. Okay. Monkey. Okay. We had Super Mario. Oh. Been going 3 hours. Yeah. We've had some long streams lately because of some of this nonsense, especially with the Ricada stuff. It is just such an enraging mess. And the more that comes out, the more enraging it seems to become. So we kind of have to talk about some of it. And the Crowder stuff, I mean, God, he is turning into such a lol cow. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully Monkey will get his wireless stuff figured out soon. How gullible is the average jury member? Well, they couldn't get out of jury duty, so constantly have long streams, maybe see a doctor. Oh, no. Trust me, they don't last 4 hours. Yeah, if I was peeing that long, I would absolutely call a doctor. It's lonely out here. Just me and the ducks. And I won't feed them because they're ducks. They probably have rabies. How could it get worse? Pick any of these possibilities for Nick. Yeah, look, it can always get worse. What if it comes out that they're smacking the kids around? How about that then, Barnesy? You going to defend that too? Well, the government has no business interfering with how you discipline your children. What's going on over on Rumble? Oh, still quiet. Hi, Rumble. Well, you ever been sent one notice in my life to serve in a jury? I got out of it. I got 7 in 1 year. And I only got picked for 1, and they resolved it before it was like right at, we showed up for jury duty, and they'd already resolved it. It was really fucking annoying. The ducks
That
might
I know.
scare squirrels, I wish.
That I know. I've only been summoned once, and I didn't find it for like a year. Whoopsie.
Yeah, that's not good.
We don't pay a whole lot of attention to our mail.
Apparently.
Yeah. It looked like junk mail. It's not my fault. It ended up in a box somewhere because we had been moving at the time. And went through, it's like, where's this fucking box from? Go through it like, oh shit, I was summoned for jury duty last year.
Apparently they didn't need you.
Apparently not. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up here. My computer's apparently already done. Thanks for sticking with us. I will do. I if I have to, I'll even run to Walmart tomorrow to get a extender for USB port so I can plug this in somewhere else. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Thank you so much for. Lucky, how bad was traffic in Virginia Beach last time you were there? Mid-city size traffic. I mean, there are no standstills or anything unless you went on to 64 at rush hour. But I haven't been there in 30 years, so I haven't been to Virginia Beach. We did go down there once when the kids were young. Let's see. I think my daughter was 9 or 10, so it's still been a while. There's plenty of people in the chat who are from that area. You could probably just ask. But typically it's not that bad unless you're on the freeway and you just don't want to be there at around 5 a.m. or 4 p.m. because it'll be just shit. Anyway, with that, guys, we're wrapping up. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for the donations. You guys are awesome. And Jack, anything you want to show out?
No, I haven't gotten anything done because I've been busy. But I've got a lot of stuff in the works. I just got to finish stuff. But thank you all so much for the donations. You guys are always awesome. And thanks for coming out and watching. We had a lot of people out today, so it's good to see you guys. And Dixie, I hope you feel better. I know you got hurt the other day, so.
Oh yeah, hope you feel better. Remember, guys, never leave till the song, but we are going to wrap this one up quick. I want to say hi to all the new people. Thanks for finding us. To all the old people, it's always wonderful to see you. Jack, a pleasure, my friend.
Always glad to be here.
Everyone, have a wonderful night. Take care of yourselves. We love you, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye, everybody.
Robert Barnes is a big fat prick, and Viva Frei is a little dick. I don't know. Fuck them both. Fuck both of them.